Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wikid Podcast number 6. My name is Michael. I'm one of the co-founders of Wikid Publishing, and we're trying out a new format today. We're gonna have first we're having on the Mythoverse crew, the creators of the comics and manga that make up the Mythoverse. We have Brett, we have Dan, and we have Matt. And welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, folks.
And why don't we just dive on into it? Mythoverse, if the readers, watchers aren't aware or haven't heard, is kind of like a shared universe of comics and manga that is under Wikid Publishing. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what it's all about?
So who goes first on this one?
Who wants to take the Mythoverse lead?
I mean, I guess the only thing I can open with is the fact that this exists is more of a happy coincidence than anything.
Really?
Well, yeah.
Yes, it was not planned.
At least not initially.
Yeah, not initially. We each developed all of our properties separate from one another, independently. And over the course of time, as we began talking to each other about our different ideas, it became clear they would fit very nicely together.
Yeah.
So we began throwing that idea around and brainstorming ways where we could make it fit together. And the more we did it, the more everything just seemed to naturally flow in that direction.
Yeah, not just that. I mean, what's actually really gorgeous about it is that we were able to put all three in a shared universe with little to no changes to our own work.
Yep, absolutely, none at all.
And so it kind of was, as you said, very seamless. And so once you started to realize that you guys kind of maybe could have something here, that worked together, what was kind of the initial thought to how you would, present them as a shared universe?
Matt?
In terms of, what I mean is how do you plan to kind of use those shared elements in each of your own comics and then in maybe other works as well?
I'm kind of having a hard. I'm not really sure to answer the question other than that.
Was it too vague?
I don't know.
No. I see where he's going. I think, at least from where I sit, I can't speak for Brett or Matt, but from where I sit, my character Adobe Kroger is part of a tyrannical faction that may in fact be oppressing the other two parts of the Mythoverse, and the main character is slowly coming to terms with the fact that she doesn't like that. So that will be a part of her struggle as she learns more about the, I guess you could say, quote, humanity, unquote, of characters like Maeve and her ancestry, and Althea and her faction that have different goals or different ways of achieving the same goals.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, I see where you're going with this, but yeah, I think the thing with the paladins is at least the way I see it is that their duty to sort of safeguard humanity, and they see the supernatural and magic and things like that. They see it as something that's inherently dangerous, and it's not like they don't have good reason to think that. It's
they
just
may have just stepped a bit. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, what I was going to say, where the problem comes in is that the paladins are essentially a hammer, and everyone knows the saying. When you've got a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
Exactly. They're a bit myopic, and they try to make the world fit their view rather than fitting their view into the world as it is.
Yeah. Interesting. So, magic is a big part of the universe. How do you guys handle that? When you guys create the rules for your universe, do you guys sit together and work it out? Do you guys do it on your own?
Wednesday, like I said, Wednesday this week, I took time off. I took the day off from work, and it was Matt's day off. So the two of us just spent that entire day. We just sat down. We wrote down a ton of the background lore and the rules for the universe. I haven't shown it to Dan yet so I cannot say for certain that we've kind of ironed out all the details because we want to make sure we all sort of agree upon everything first before we declare anything definitive. Yeah. One thing we did kind of, I'll say like the way the supernatural works in the mythoverse is it's Jungian.
Jungian, as in the was he a philosopher
Carl Jung. Carl Jung. Well, he was. I guess he technically counts as a philosopher, but his work is more in psychology, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, big part of Carl Jung's work is the collective unconscious.
Okay. Interesting.
And that's where the supernatural comes in. It's all connected to humanity's collective unconscious.
Wow. That's been pretty interesting tying in such a concept like that, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of this system where, I guess the best way I can put it is it's sort of like a system where the two are kind of feeding into one another. That's the best way I can put it. As for the magic, Matt has not gotten a chance to say anything, so Matt, why don't you say it?
Well, I think we've got an interesting take on magic as it applies to Adobe Kroger, Changeling, and Mythics, where with Adobe Kroger, it's got its own set of rules for magic involving characters like the Paladins who need prayers to augment their abilities. You have Changeling, where you have the Fey magic, and Mythics, you have magic that comes from the bond between a human and their familiar spirit.
Wow. I really like that you have these different sources of magic, you know, it kind of makes it a more complex universe.
Yeah, like as Matt said, a paladin's magic is based on their belief that what they're about to make happen is real. And as long as they continue to believe it, and if their belief is strong enough, the stronger the prayers or the blessings that they manifest are.
Yeah, with Changeling, like the kind of stuff that Maeve can do, only she can do them. This is not something any normal person anyone could do. It's like, I mean, that was kind of another rule Matt and I wrote in, was that magic is, it's not like in, say, D&D, or actually I haven't played D&D, so I don't know if that's true. Is D&D a universe where only like certain bloodlines can do magic?
Pretty well. I can't say definitively because I'm not an expert, but I do believe that certain. Well, see, someone correct me on that. Where's our D&D expert when we need him, right? I actually think anybody can use magic, but don't quote me on that.
Well, it's something I've seen. Okay, I got a better idea. It's not like Harry Potter, where you have to be born like a wizard to do it.
Ah, okay, yeah. That's a good example. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually better. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was It's more like this was something we kind of cribbed from Hellblazer because it's a line from John Constantine.
Really?
Let me tell you the secret to magic.
Mm-hmm.
Any C word could do it.
I was about to say we're gonna need a bleep there.
Yeah, you usually do when it comes to Constantine, you know.
Yeah.
Usually requires a few of those.
Then again, I think that comes from a line from when Alan Moore talked about one of his experiences dealing with an encounter with John Constantine.
Apparently that's happened to all the writers who've written Hellblazer, the only exception being Garth Ennis.
Because he was already crazy.
Which, are you thinking of Garth Ennis or Grant Morrison?
Well, I mean, crazy in a good way.
Or Alan Moore.
And Garth Ennis has a very twisted mind, but it's a very good thing in my opinion.
Personally, I think it might be his atheism.
Could be.
All the other writers, like if they don't believe in the supernatural, they're at least fascinated by it.
That's interesting.
And Alan Moore is very fascinated by the supernatural.
Oh yes.
Also, Grant Morrison. I mean, the dude believes in chaos magic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's good. But yeah, To bring it back to the Mythoverse, that's kind of how, more or less how magic works. It's not Harry Potter, where you have to belong to this bloodline, or you have to just be born with like the natural talents for it. It's a skill that, in theory, any person could learn, but it requires It requires years of training, and it requires great amounts of discipline, and most people just don't have the mindset for it.
And are most people in this world aware of magic?
No, it's kind of like it's more or less. It's kind of more or less. It's like the Valiant universe, where it's our world, but it's kind of skewed a little.
Like an alternate timeline, almost.
Let's just put it this way. I think we can at least safely say there, at least in our books, there won't be any referencing of current events.
Fair enough.
Can we say that, guys?
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. That's one reason I set my book deliberately in 2012.
Oh, really?
So I wouldn't have to reference any current day slang. Well, also because I needed her to be a certain age for the story to work, and to be born at a certain time for the story to work. So that's why I said
prequel, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and like I said, if people want to know what Maeve thinks about politics, I'll just say she's in high school. She doesn't care that Donald Trump is president. That doesn't mean anything to her.
May have a lot more concerns. Now,
well, that's the thing. Did you guys know anyone in high school that actually cared about politics?
Not seriously, I don't think.
Exactly. Nobody did. And if you did, everyone hated that kid.
So no politics talk in Changeling.
Well, there's more like its own internal set of politics, but it's not like real world politics. Right. It's more like the very bizarre politics of the Fae.
Oh, that sounds exciting, actually.
Yeah, magic it's not something that you have to be born to a certain bloodline to be able to do. It's something anyone could do. The only exceptions we made for that were the Fae and Mythics, just because. Well, with the Fae, that just makes sense. This is not magic that anybody can do.
Right.
Pretty much like any of the wizards and whatever. Like, they could try all they want. This is not magic they'll ever be able to learn. This is something only the Fae can do, and because changelings are descended from the Fae, they kind of have access to those abilities, though arguably not at their full potential. Like, they're a little bit gimped.
Really?
Well, it's kind of the result of them of their mixed heritage.
Because remind me, what is the Fae exactly again?
Well,
you said the
Fae's a catch-all for like any. Fae's just basically a catch-all term for like fair folk, fairies, everything that sort of thing. Changelings are kind of like, at least the way I wrote them, is that they're essentially Fae human hybrids.
Oh wow.
So yeah, they've got like a mix. So they kind of have like a mixed physiology and.
Wow.
And something I wrote into them is they all have something wrong with them. Which is kind of due to them being sort of mixed, and also because they have mixed abilities. Like, it's something. It just kind of makes sense to me that their abilities would be kind of handicapped a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really kind of cool. It adds this element of her, not fitting into either world.
Exactly. Yeah. With the Mythics, it's kind of more of a symbiotic relationship that the Mythics have with their familiars.
Mm. Well, is that speaking of which, is that a familiar in the Mythics image on your profile there?
Yep.
Ah.
That skeleton, Althea's familiar. But
I think it's about the one you have right now, Matt.
Oh wait, no, that's Althea. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go.
Isn't that supposed to be a pixie?
Yeah, that's a pixie.
Ah.
And
not a familiar.
Nope. That's To be honest, Beth loves drawing drawing pixies. So I have a feeling. I have a feeling that she's going to that the pixie is going to be Althea's symbol.
Oh, really?
Oh, hey, I just looked up in the Wikid chat. Apparently, Scott says depends on the class. Some sorcerers rely on a bloodline, where a wizard, it's more knowledge and study. I think he's talking about D&D.
Oh, okay. I wonder if he's knows how to be dungeon master.
He might be. I'm not an expert on D&D. I play Werewolf the Apocalypse.
Is that a role playing game?
It is. It's like you ever heard of Vampire the Masquerade?
Can't say that I have.
Oh boy.
I was always partial to hunters.
I feel bad. My bad. You'll have to educate me after the podcast.
Well, because I don't want to derail it. But yeah, that's kind of the rules we set up. Like, that's more or less how the magic works for our universe. It's kind of more or less how the supernatural works. Now, actually, if I can just get one thing off the table, I mean, like, Wednesday was actually a really good day for me and Matt, just because we were actually shocked by how much we managed to get done.
Really?
That's great.
Yeah, especially when there are things that we're not supposed to we can't talk about.
Yeah,
that happened on that day too. That'll be very exciting for the Mythoverse at large.
Some exciting news coming up in the pipelines.
I think actually there is one thing I think we can discuss though, that we can talk about the launch of the site and our planned release, right?
Yeah, I think we can do that. I should be able to get to it over the weekend.
Yeah, we are going to be launching our own dedicated website for the Mythoverse, where it's basically going to be a place where you can keep up to date on news regarding the books. Also, like, where you can it's going to be another place where you can buy the books, and as well as dedicated merchandise. And we're also planning on trying to integrate a really big community element into it, just make people feel like it's a part of it, like just sort of set up like a whole. I don't want to say it's a role-playing thing, but it kind of could be. It's just.
In the end, we're trying to build a universe that hopefully fans can easily insert themselves into and make themselves a part of, and perhaps build a community around that concept.
Oh yeah. Another thing we're going to be doing is we are teaming up with Matt's artist for McKinnon Chronicles at Kagi Manga to put out a weekly gag manga as sort of a means of promoting the books, and as well as have content coming out that's able to hold fans over while the books are still being produced.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. That's a huge news.
Yeah, all in hopes of allowing them to connect with the characters on a more regular basis and feel like they know them.
Yeah.
Is there a working title at this point in time?
I don't think we've figured out one yet. It's just, I guess right now it's just, if there is one, I guess all we can say is it's the Mythoverse gag manga, because I don't think we came up with a name for it yet.
2 women and a baby.
Well, that is kind of what it is. It is essentially kind of a 3 men and a baby situation. Have you seen that movie?
You're gonna be mad. No, I have not.
Well, you can kind of guess the premise from the title.
Yeah. Now, who's the baby in this situation?
It would be Maeve.
Oh, little baby Maeve.
I'm going to put it out there that Maeve is the cute one, so she's obviously going to be the baby.
Aww.
You're taking. Yeah, I guess the premise is essentially you got Adobe and Althea who are roommates. Adobe is the one with the stable, able job, while Althea keeps floating from job to job in hopes that her writing career will take off. which sort of drives Adobe up the wall because well, when you're roommates, you got to split the rent.
And then one day,
she just shows up. She shows up with a baby banshee, and Althea's giddy at the idea of playing house, and Adobe's like, God, what? Oh God, no.
Sounds hilarious, and it sounds like it's gonna completely just be like non-canon fun.
It's not. It's completely alternate universe stuff. It's just meant to. It's kind of. Dan sort of described it as like it's the Lego movie where you just exaggerate the characters' eccentricities and quirks completely to 11. Now, it's a joke to everyone reading it, but they play it completely straight.
Exactly.
Everyone in the call has seen the Lego movie, right?
Yes, I can say officially that I have seen that.
Yeah. What was so funny about that was just take Lord Business by himself. Like Will Ferrell plays that character so over the top. He's just so hammy about it. he just takes the stereotypical evil, greedy businessman. Just like I said, cranks the dial completely to 11. But I mean, the character is playing it completely serious. But to us, the audience, we laugh because it's a joke. Because that's the joke. He's playing this exaggeration completely straight.
And so that's going to be part of the gag manga then as well.
Yes, and I think the ideas that we've come up with, I have to say, even if I say so myself, are pretty damn hilarious, and I cannot wait to get them down in the comic.
Yeah, and Kagi's manga's arts is going to be perfect for that style.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen like Akagi stuff from McKinnon Chronicles, but she does. I think we kind of settled on her. Just man, why did we settle on her again?
What?
Why did we settle on Akagi again?
Well, I think it's because he can do chippies, and I think you were the one who brought her up to use as the artist. So
I think it might have. I think it might have come from the fact that like when she saw the artwork for Changeling, she thought I was doing a chibi comic.
Probably.
So that actually brings up a good question. So does that mean it's going to be in chibi format then?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's going to be fun. Oh man. I can already imagine the different characters. Even the other two characters, the other two girls, they're gonna, when they're in the chibi form, they'll look pretty cute,
Yeah, we actually have an example sketch that I think got us down this whole road of doing the gag manga.
Oh, it was a fan doodle. Yeah, I remember. It was one of my fans was sort of doing a thing on Twitter where she was like posted, hey, I'm bored. I want to doodle something, so just post an image and I'll do one. So what I did was just to give, because I wanted to give Matt and Dan a little more exposure. I took a pic of that Matt had commissioned of Althea, Maeve, and Adobe and said, draw these two. And she didn't exactly listen to me because she did not just draw Althea and Adobe. She also drew Maeve, but she drew her so tiny.
Tiny Dave.
Really tiny. She drew her really tiny well, to be fair, I mean, that made sense because Maeve is shorter than both Althea and Adobe. And I kind of joked that this is probably the first time Maeve's height has been accurately represented. I mean, it was a cute doodle, and that's kind of where the idea just sort of sprang from.
Nice, dude. Well, that's cool. So that's going to be a good way to get people into the Mythoverse at large and give them a nice content on a regular basis.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
And so I just want to say welcome. We just got joined by the other Wikid co-founder, Matthew Bryant. He was just able to join us. So why don't you say hello?
How's it going, guys?
Hey, Matt.
Everyone.
Good.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
We were just talking a little bit about the newest addition to the Mythoverse, which is currently kind of untitled Mythoverse gag comic, and it sounds like it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, like
I was going to say, when it first came in, it kind of sounded like it came in at the wrong moment.
What do you mean?
Well, one, I was lost, and two, I mean, it sounded a little, I wouldn't say graphic, but a little spicy.
Out of context, huh?
I believe so.
Well, hey, if you're fans of the Kagi manga art, he can be a little spicy over there.
Hey, I'm never got any problems with that.
Right? Everyone's got their own thing. But back to the gag manga. What is it specifically about a gag manga, like about the humor aspect that made you, drew you to that? Besides the chibi style art.
I just think it was a perfect format to have one-off gags that we could regularly produce. That would showcase Brett said, the exaggerated characteristics of the characters as a way to, acclimate the readers and our community to the characters and to give them something to see on a regular basis, so they would come back to the platform and to get updates on our actual projects.
So will the gag manga, is that going to be, where is that going to be distributed? Have you guys talked about that yet?
We're just going to post it directly on the site.
Wow.
It's kind of like a webcomic.
Yeah. That good way to build the Mythoverse website.
Yep. And the reason we want to put it on the site itself is so that there's a direct attachment to our brand, and that they come back to see the brand and check out the merch store, check out progress on our projects, and just become part of the community. Have fun, get to know each other, and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, we're still ironing out the details, but yeah, like as Dan said, you said it should be knocked out. The at least the foundation of the site should be knocked out by this weekend, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I have to do is sit down and get the webcomic templating working. I'll throw up one of my own webcomics to test the navigation and everything. And then I'll give you guys access, admin access to the site, and you can go in there and start tooling around.
Yeah. But I mean, if we're gonna give ourselves a window, the whole operation should be ready to go within the month, right? Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say too much, but Matt's been doing some work too that's just about ready to go. And that'll be very easy to hook up into the site that we're building right now. Mm-hmm. And the site itself will be very easily themable and extensible. That's what it's designed for. So any refinements we want to make down the line, we can do iteratively as we go.
Mm-hmm. Now, I guess if we can sort of still, if we can move on to a related topic, are we able to discuss our planned release for the books?
Well, as long as we don't talk about dates or anything like that, we don't want to fall into that trap of expectations.
I guess the most we can say is we haven't settled on a date yet, but we do kind of plan for a simultaneous release.
And there's a good reason for that too. I don't know if you want to mention one of the things that we're working on, but there's something that we're working on that will tie them all together in a very satisfying way, I think, and which is why we're going for a simultaneous release.
Wow.
I guess without going into too much detail, let's just say it's ambitious.
It's going to be probably a big part of the Mythoverse going forward, it sounds like.
It will be.
Can I at least hint that? Can I at least drop that? Can I at least? I'm going to type this in the Slack.
He wants to drop exclusive, people. Uh-oh. Warning.
You sound like you really want to, man. I don't want to disappoint you.
Nobody wants to disappoint him.
Yes.
But, well, let's see. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Really?
Okay, definitely.
It's you guys are Who here? Everyone in this call remembers X-Men #1 by Jim Lee, right?
Remember it or heard of it?
Everyone knows the if you remember remember the story to that issue, good on you, but that's not what most people remember about it.
What do most people remember about it?
Oh, come on, Michael! You've got to be old enough to remember to remember X-Men, to remember Jim Lee's X-Men #1.
Sorry, I can't say. Well, don't know for age, but I can't say that I know that one, unfortunately.
Okay, you know how the big thing that sold that was there were a bunch of variant covers to that issue, and when you had collected them all, you see where I'm going with this?
Not at all.
I wonder if anyone in the chat knows where I'm going with this.
Read that one.
Does anyone in the chat in the chat know what I'm talking about?
Matt probably knows, right, Matt? You're pretty good about this.
I'm trying to think, because I think when he said X-Men, my brain's starting to kind of go towards
X-Men #1.
Giant size X-Men, in a sense.
Highest selling comic of all time.
Yeah.
There's that little comic. Oh, you just another X.
Yeah, you can call a little, yeah. But its gravitas is a little bit more than that.
Chuck nailed it.
Chuck.
Yep. Sparkman Studios.
Let's see. They formed a poster. Oh, really?
Dude. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna show you. Give me a sec.
Something's being dropped right now, folks.
Uh-oh.
God.
I have.
Dear God, help us all.
Okay, I'm gonna have to. Okay, let me see if I can pull. I'm gonna have to do a screen share. Give me a sec. Can you make sure Michael? Can you make sure it's centered on me?
1 second.
You just click on my profile.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
This is the poster that I did for him?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
These are all 4 separate covers.
Oh, that's cool. And they were variant covers?
Yeah. All variant covers of X-Men #1.
Wow.
And you four separate covers. You put them together, one whole image.
Wow. That's pretty epic, man. And I like that because I've never really seen that done in comics.
Really? That's legendary.
Really?
Dude, that's like half the reason why X-Men #1 is the highest selling comic of all time.
See, that makes sense, actually. Yeah.
No, it's got the record. It has the record. Let me look it up. How many copies did this thing sell? Sales.
I'm surprised Marvel didn't run it into the ground.
Blah 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 blah. Top sell. X-Men #1, 7.1 million copies.
How many? Say that again.
7.1 million copies of that comic have been sold.
Jeez. Damn, that's a lot of comics. Wow. And so I think if I'm getting where you're going with this, are you wanting to do something like that with a kind of a special cover?
Exactly. We've commissioned an artist named we've commissioned an artist named Antonella, and she is currently working on it. Very talented artist, by the way.
Is she on Twitter?
Yeah, she is on Twitter at let me pull it up. She is on Twitter at Moonlight Shadow, but she replaced the O with an X.
There we are.
Yep, I'll drop it in the chat.
Nice. Yeah, well, we're gonna go ahead and follow her. That's cool.
Like I said, very excellent artist.
I was gonna say the art looks really nice. Very anime style, it seems.
Yeah, she's got a lot of influences in there. She's a big fan of Steins Gate.
Oh, nice. I've been meaning to catch up on that one. I know a lot of people really love Steins Gate. It's kind of like a comedy, science-y, slice of life-y.
Science fiction, slice of life, comedy. I never got around to watching it at all because I heard like it gets a little bit on the esoteric, I think.
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, and then it gets, they have a movie, I think, and maybe even a second season? I can't remember.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with it, so don't quote me on that.
But yeah, so that's what she's going to be working on?
Yeah, that's what she is currently working on right now. I think last time we were in chat with her, she said she would have the completed work done by Wednesday, or at least a rough.
Yeah, she showed off one portion of it, and it was fantastic. So we're all very excited to see the final product.
Wow. No, that's awesome. Yeah. So,
yep.
So, what's next for each of your individual projects? We've talked a lot about the mythoverse at large. What are kind of some of the new things that are going down with each of your individual projects?
I've been kind of tight-lipped on this part related to Changeling, just because I'm still ironing out the details. But because we went for a simultaneous release, and depending on what date we settle on, actually, kind of no matter what date we settle on, it just sort of occurred to me that I'm going to have to speed up production in order to meet the deadline. So in the coming months, I plan on launching a Kickstarter in order to speed production up. I've held off. Now, do not take this as a formal announcement because this is just what I plan on doing. I still kind of have a lot of details to iron out, but when I do, I will make a formal announcement in the coming months. That's pretty much all I can say, is that a Kickstarter is coming. But now what it is going to pay for is strictly just to get production done and nothing else.
And are you going? So it's going to be starting soon, before obviously the release of all of the different titles.
Yeah.
And how many issues is it going to be for?
This is just to get issue 1 done.
The first issue off the ground.
Yeah,
start.
Pretty much. Yeah, Ed. It's just to get issue 1 done, and let me just put it this way: if it somehow goes beyond its initial goal, those funds will go directly towards funding issue 2.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. I think people really like to be able to know that if it keeps going and going, that maybe this will help out the continuous of the series. I think.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's just to get production on issue 1 done, and as well as at least the first chunk of it will be what's left over is going to be split between Kickstarter's fee and paying for backers, and if I still get any money left over, again, that's going to go towards paying for the next issue.
Excellent. And how about you guys? Are you guys going to be doing any kind of crowdfunding for your project? I know Mythics is coming out as a webcomic, right?
Well, that was when Patreon was going to be a viable kind of platform, but at this point, it doesn't look like it'll be so.
Right. There's some controversial issues with that. I've seen it.
Yep. So I'm gonna go down the Kickstarter route. But first I'm going to get a prologue done so that people will be able to read a story set in Mythics, and then go to the Kickstarter and fund issue 1.
Nice. And will this be kind of the welcome to the mythoverse for most readers then?
Pretty much. The prologue it's going to make mention of changelings, of paladins, and mythics. So it's going to be quite the prologue.
It does sound exciting. I like how it touches on a lot of the aspects of the universe, and that I think it's going to be a good primer for people to dive into the different titles.
Oh, definitely.
And then what about Adobe Kroger? How are things going on with Adobe?
Excellent. I couldn't be happier. I gave Leandro, my artist, about 3 weeks off at the end of last year because he's been working so hard, and he's jumped back into it like with a vengeance. He's got he delivered 3 compositions for the cover that he's beginning work on right now. I dropped that recently in Wikid Chat and got everyone's feelings on the different layouts. And I settled on one, and he's already got the pencils for it nearly complete, and he'll be giving that to me shortly. He's 13 hours ahead, so he's probably still in bed right now. But maybe by tonight I will have the pencils, and he's just going to want my final approval on that. And as soon as he gets it inked up, Brett Smith is standing by, ready to color it. So hopefully by middle or end of next week, I'll be able to show off the completed art for the cover. And then Leandro is going to resume work on the interiors. And I've already got it already pretty much paid for. But I probably will also run a crowdfunding campaign kind of as a market research thing to see if people are interested in this. And I will use any proceeds to continue to pay Leandro to produce issue 2, which is already scripted up.
Nice, that's excellent. And you mentioned that you're going to have Brett Smith do the coloring?
Yeah, Brett Smith he was formerly of DC, and he also colored the Jawbreakers project. And so he just saw Leandro's art, and he actually messaged me and said, I would really love to color that when it gets to completion. And I said, yes, please. I'd be more than happy to have you color this art.
Wow.
And I went to go to Leandro, and he was thrilled that his art went over so well.
Yeah, so that's exciting. It's so you go to an art, colorist, but it's another for the colorist to come to you.
Yeah, I mean, I was not about to let that opportunity go to waste. So I've been in touch with them on and off as we've been in production, and I just recently reached out to him, and he said he was still up for it, and he still had a window to squeeze it in. So that's why I was telling Leandro to go ahead and finish up the cover before he gets too busy. The sooner we can get that done, the better, and we'll have an excellent little pedigree on the cover there. And mainly my goal in reaching out and making sure that we got this done is I want Leandro to succeed because he really deserves to. So after this project is done, I want him to become a rock star. I really do. He deserves it. He is so good to work with. He's so prompt, and he is so professional, and he is so good at what he does that he deserves to make a good career out of this.
Nice. That's awesome.
It kind of makes me think about how many times I've commented on how everyone knows the Rags artist Luigi Terrell.
The what?
Of course. If you like Rags, it's because of Luigi. I mean, because his Regina is what grabbed your eye and drew you into the book to enjoy the story.
Yeah, I've commented on multiple times that that's gonna be that if he gets a career in say with the Big Two or something, that Rags is gonna be the book that becomes the jumping off point for it. And I think as much as I want to have Victor and Ginger all to myself, I honestly would not mind if they got careers because of Changeling.
Right.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, I will not be able to hold on to Leandro for too long. He's too good.
Oh, don't say that. He's probably pretty loyal with you, right?
He is. He said that my book is his priority, but I also don't want to hold him back.
Yeah, let me put it this way. I hope for the entirety of Changeling's run that I have Victor and Ginger. But I also hope that they're able to pick up more work because of it as well.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good balance to have. Because you don't want to lose your relationship that you've built with them.
I mean, like they're no, I mean, like they're really good. It's just like I mean, like the relationship the three of us have. Like I can just talk. It's not just a business relationship. They're actually. I mean, the three of us have actually sort of have become friends. Wow. And it's a relationship I want to keep going for years to come.
It's so nice.
Yeah, that really is the best part about it, I think. It's very difficult for me to communicate in real time with Leandro, given our time difference, but I think I'd like to say that we've grown to become friends as well. I mean, he's really enthusiastic about the product, and he said, like, I'm so glad you reached out to me for that first commission, because this has turned into such a great ride, and I cannot wait to see where it goes.
Wow.
Yeah, I can say the same thing. Like both Victor and Ginger love what they do with. Both Victor and Ginger love what they do with Changeling. Like saying, like Vic, I think like Victor really enjoys doing stuff with Maeve. He really enjoys drawing the characters, and it's like something it's like going to be something that really pushes him to his creative limits. And Ginger really gets to work on a project where she really gets to flex her creative muscle, because like she's also going to be doing a lot of the concept art, and she just like she loves drawing cute things. She loves drawing monsters. This is something she loves doing.
Maeve is a fun character to draw. I mean, who wouldn't want to draw Maeve, right?
That is something I have heard everyone say who has done fan art for her. They like drawing her.
Now let's remember. I'm pretty certain the first cup of the variant covers that'll be done will be Maeve's.
Yeah.
The first for Maeve, you think?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
The first one will be done for Changeling, because everyone loves Maeve.
Yeah. But what, you got no comment with Beth, Matt?
No comment for on what? Oh, well, she prefers to keep it more professional. So, well, we've had some conversations about where to go with the future, and she's in it for a long run.
That's okay.
Well, we're wrapping up our first segment here on the podcast today. And thank you guys for joining us. Is there anything you guys want to tell your fans who are looking forward to all the Mythoverse comments?
All I can say is just keep an eye on my Twitter, because especially in the coming months, because I am going to be launching that Kickstarter.
Go ahead, yeah. Please plug your Twitters and where everyone can find you on the internet.
Yeah, that would be my Twitter is at Brett 1106. I'll put the link in the chat right now.
I'm at Molly_Beans on Twitter, and mollybeans.com is the URL for my webcomic, updated twice a week. And keep an eye on my Twitter. I'll be posting more additional art as it comes out, and I cannot wait to show it to you. This cover is going to be epic.
Yeah, those colors can be nice.
Yep.
And you can find me at Matt Trin on Twitter. I'll have some I'm working with Beth on some pages for the prologue, so expect to see some updates on that.
Nice. Well, that's excellent. Well, thank you guys for joining us today, and I hope everyone is enjoying this new format. We'll give it a shot, and we'll see what happens next week. But thank you for joining us, guys. You guys have a great rest of the day.
Thank
you too.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. And for everyone, all the viewers, stick around in just a few minutes. So we're going to have Cowboy Steel, Cody. We're going to have Wes from Charger. We're going to have a couple surprise guests. And we're going to have Aaron Calamari from several different projects. So we're going to bring them on. So why don't they just go ahead and join in when they can. And in the meantime, I guess, Matt, why don't you and I talk a little bit, Matt? Oh, actually, we just got joined by Heavy Tank and Cowboy Steel. Hey, guys.
Howdy.
Good evening.
How are you doing today?
Boiling. It's very hot.
Exact opposite. It's about 4 feet of snow outside. It's been snowing since yesterday. Yeah, it's been crazy.
Well, we I definitely don't get any snow around where I'm from.
Lucky you, man. Lucky you.
Yeah.
I don't think I get. Well, okay, I got to scratch that because the first year we moved out here, we had snow, but since then we haven't had that, and it was only one day that we had snow.
Yeah, we luckily only had one storm here on the East Coast, but whatever Cody's probably going to get, most likely is probably going to swing up here and hit us because it's down south a little bit. So as that comes west or east, that will probably swing up and hit us. So
yeah, it's likely.
Normally, where we live in Pennsylvania, we normally, if a storm like comes across like the northeast part of the United States, like we kind of might get hit because we live in a valley, but if it comes south, 9 times out of 10, we normally always get hit and hit hard. So,
yeah.
So, welcome to the podcast today, guys. We're trying out a new format. It's kind of a little different, we might say. We're going to be having our guests, our creators, come on in segments. So I appreciate you guys trying this out with us. And why don't you tell a little bit about what your guys are working on? I know, Cody, you can go last since everyone knows you.
Yeah, no problem.
And maybe Tank, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've got working on?
As mentioned last time, I am writing the sci-fi novella Dreams of Peace and Acts of War. I'm currently finalizing, polishing, and editing. Hopefully, I'll get through that soon. And apart from that, I have been working with some artists to finalize the artwork for some of the weapons and armors and things that get mentioned throughout the story, which will be included in the physical copy as an incentive to buy that rather than just the digital version on Amazon.
And how are things coming along with the editing? Are you making good progress?
Making good progress, yes.
Nice. That's always the key part, isn't it? It's a long process. It's not an easy process, but it's necessary. Well, that's awesome. And then Cody. How are things going with Jack Irons right now?
Good. Just got in another pinups line art just earlier from Von Klaus. I don't know if anybody's been kind of following his work. He does Monster MD. So I'm pretty stoked. The piece came out great. And Narwhal Books, who just got their book crowdfunded, is doing the colors. So I'm kind of stoked for that. Their book's called Earthbound, and it was just picked up by Cautionary Comics too. So that was really cool. So there's a lot of sweet stuff happening in indies, and I'm lucky Jack got a piece of it early.
That's awesome. And we're actually joined by a couple other creators. We have with us Les from Charger, and our surprise guest, it's the Spork himself.
What's up, y'all?
Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, well, it's great to be here right now.
Awesome. And why don't you tell us a little bit about some updates on both your projects since you guys just joined in?
I guess I'll start. Well, Charger, as of now, the Indiegogo has crossed 35% of its funding. But thanks to some snafu, even if we can just get to like at least the halfway point, we should be able to. I can pay Troy, Mr. Marvel, the artist, in full, so the money will be there, and hopefully we can continue the work together. I was dealing with some stuff personally that hopefully we've sorted out, or hopefully. That's keyword. But, and then I got Catherine, she just sent back the other day. She actually sent back the full, one of the full colored pages from the project, which it looked great, fantastic. I mean, I know some of you guys might have already seen it on the campaign or through other means.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I really enjoyed that. Her work is just really nice.
Oh, she really blends with Troy's art like gorgeously, and art, like Troy's like amazing with the art. But I was shocked that when I hired out a secondary colorist to kind of see what it would look like with a secondary style, I went like, oh my god, it was a perfect marriage of the art. It just kind of it's kind of like the sun smacks you in the face. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is interesting. What made you? Was it just purely out of curiosity that made you want to go?
No, actually, Catherine was before Troy came along and just blew me out of the water with his artwork and his style. Catherine was actually one of the first people I had contacted years and years ago. I think it was about a little over 2 years ago to try and get some concept art done for Charger. And that's actually, she's the one who actually designed this avatar that you see here. And I thought it was really, and the thing is, I'm a bit of a sentimentalist. I want people who have worked on the project who already have been in the loop and to keep her in the loop because she had a hand in the original design. And then Troy took it to another level and he's the go-to guy. He's the guy for the art. But then after that, but I wanted to somehow find a way to get Catherine in the loop. And so I offered her to do lettering. And then I thought, well, actually, her color art on some of her works like Nyx and Crank Rats, I kind of liked it. So I wanted to see what would happen if, kind of give her a bit more input. So I colored it over, and that was history.
Wow. No, that's awesome. And so the goal for the campaign, what is it covered? Is this for one issue or is this for multiple issues? How do you see it?
Well, I haven't signed on officially fully with you guys yet. I was kind of holding back on Troy and his decision to kind of keep him in the loop. So I wanted to make sure that everything was copacetic before any pen went to paper. But with you guys, with Wikid support, I was hoping that if we hit the goal line, we could, use all the money to fund multiple issues. But for now, I think just the most important thing is just getting the first one out before we start planning ahead for the multiple issues. Cause I have enough story material to last like 50 issues.
Oh, wow.
Like at least. So it's like, I've got enough material to last a good long while. Just, I would like to, I think all my effort is now being focused on just getting the first one out, getting everyone paid, everyone gets their due, everything gets sorted out, and their books. Yeah, not just their books, but also whatever royalties they may get, for example, merchandise. I mean, I probably should have been a little more careful on the decision-making process, but what can you do? I probably should have thought that went through a little better, but I did post out a t-shirt segment and other things like that. So to get more money to hopefully get Troy and, Catherine, all them, they get paid more and faster. Mm-hmm. And so, then of course I want them to get their royalties because they're the ones designing this stuff. And I'm just the writer. I mean, I don't really expect to make any money off of this. I mean, that's a nice, I'd like to, but my goal right now is just to put any dollar that I make back into the book and continue their them staying on the project and working and getting money.
No, that's pretty smart. And it seems to be that the consensus that it's a good idea just to focus on getting that first issue out when you're, starting out.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting out, it's like, I mean, I'm a complete noob, and it's like, I'm basically nothing without my artists because I can't draw worth a damn. So,
we're all us writers in that same boat with you.
Word. I feel you there.
Right? If we only saw, man, what we could do with this world. But that's awesome, man. And definitely we're going to be talking more about that in a little bit. But Sporkman, we're really excited to have you on the stream with us. Thanks for being here. And what's going down with Sporkman? Is he on the high seas right now? What are some? Do you got any updates for us? What's going down?
Yeah, actually got some good updates. Pretty much we just announced yesterday. We got to go ahead from our cover artist for the Sporkman Goes to Japan trade cover. So I posted that in Twitter and getting great feedback on that. A lot of people are really excited. So the artist we went with was Killbox at Killbox. I think at Kill_83. Is that right, Tank?
I can tell you now.
I think so. Yeah.
Yep, it is at Kill_box83.
Yeah, and I mean, he was fantastic to work with. I kind of told him what I was a little looking for, and I kind of just let him go, and we gave him very little input on what needed, and I think he really hit the cover out of the park. There was a couple things we added in to change the scene a little bit, but other than that, I mean, almost 95% of all the work was him just testing things on his own, coming up with different things. And so, yeah, I'm really proud of what we did there. So we are officially also going to be doing our next campaign for the Sporkman, goes to Japan. We are going to be doing that on probably March 1st is probably when we're going to launch that. I wasn't sure if we're going to wait till the end of February or the beginning of March. So right around there, just because, with everything, especially with shutdown and everything on the government, people are going to be a little tight. Right? So I figured, we'll push back a little bit, when people start getting their income tax back. So, and then on in terms of Sporkman on the high seas, we're still about 95 to 98% done written on that. So.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. It's a good amount done on the writing.
Yeah, so we really ideally we have. I mean, with conventions and now Japan, and we're ramping up on the high seas. We got a lot of work, so we are a
lot of stuff happening with Sporkman right now.
Yep.
Well, that's exciting. I can't wait for the campaign. That's pretty close actually. Coming up. Yep. It'll be here before we know it.
For sure.
Right. But that's awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, and I would like to say that do we want to talk about a few other things, or do we want to hold off for now? Do you think?
I mean, we can. I guess we can kind of. I guess we can kind of, since we're just finalizing the stuff. So I think it's a pretty good announcement. I don't think Eric has any issues where we're at. So I mean, we can go ahead and announce it, I think.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. So we're excited and happy to announce that the Sporkman series will be joining Wikid Publishing as one of the newest series under our banner. So, yay! We're really excited.
Oh, I'm stoked for the Spork to be here.
Right?
You know it. Huge Spork fan.
Hey, I got to give a really big shout out to Cody. He has been, great to work with. He's given a lot of great advice on stuff, and both you guys from Wikid have been awesome. And I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you three. So.
Oh well, thank you, Spork.
Yeah, thank you.
If
to be honest,
any of my
it's been a pleasure working with all you two.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. It's if any advice was good that came out of my mouth, it came out as BS, and it just happened to be good. I'm glad it's working for other people too.
Well, hey, isn't that sometimes how it goes? Gotta wing it sometimes.
You just gotta fake it till you make it a lot of the time.
Yeah, right. I guess so.
Throw it out and see where it lands, Yeah. Well, that's so cool. I mean, Sporkman, we've been a big fan for a very long time, and so it just feels right to have you guys with us, and we can't wait to see what we can do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I'm excited, especially because I know with what you guys are doing there with Jack Irons and some of these other projects you got with Tank, and then Charger, and then I'm really excited for the Mythoverse. You guys got a lot of nice, good playgrounds to play in, and I'm proud to be with you guys. In all honesty, and I know Eric probably feels the same way. So I'm stoked.
That's very kind. And what's interesting is that Sporkman, I believe, is an all ages title. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
So that we'll be joining Changeling as one of two all ages titles. It's actually, that's actually interesting. We actually had a lot of people at conventions who have been talking about Sorry. By the way, I believe I don't mean to interrupt, but I think someone has a keyboard, or maybe going or something. But at the conventions, we got a lot of notes from people who mentioned they really wanted some all ages titles, and we at the time we didn't really have anything in 7, so that was something that we really were interested in acquiring.
The thing is, one of the big reason why, and I like dark superheroes, don't get me wrong. It's just, I think there's not enough all age comics out there, that can really appeal to people, so, and that's one of the big reasons. That's one of the big things. We wanted someone because I know when I was growing up, Superman was always that character, that was all age, and now he's kind of got a little bit darker and stuff like that. But I always liked that because it was accessible to everything. And that's really what we wanted with Sporkman. Is everybody at all ages, no matter how young you are to how old you are, everybody can enjoy it. There's something for everybody there in the character.
You're going to have fun, regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually really cool. And it probably changes the way you write the series, I would think.
Yeah, it does. You really have to, and I'll be honest with you. One of the big issues we had, like in the Japan issue, there was actually going to be a line in there, even like Sporkman was going to use a line Jeebus, which is, of course, a parody of Jesus. And we're like, no, let's keep that out. Just because we're trying to keep it, we didn't want to we wanted to try to avoid any conflict as much as possible. And we just kind of wanted to keep it, just on this, just accessible for everybody,
Right. Yeah. That's a tricky line to walk.
Yeah. I mean, the comedy enough as it is was a tricky line to follow, to follow. It's when you add those other layers into, adding the political stuff or this other stuff, then it gets to be too much. So, comedy's already subjective, so
right. Exactly, yeah. That does make a lot of sense. It actually is a good point. There's comedy seems to be a good part of the Sporkman persona, and you don't see a lot of comics these days. They're all, like you said, they're all so serious.
Yep, exactly. And that's the thing is, so yeah, we wanted to, keep it serious. So,
and now, Cody, I don't know if you want to comment on that, but is there any humor in the Jack Irons universe to be had?
Absolutely. It's a very important dichotomy because it's a quite depressing universe, and my goal is to entertain, not to drive to suicide. So,
thank God.
So no, there's a humor. There's a humor to it. I think even issue 1, you could see Jack's humor about the whole damn thing at the end when he's killing that robot. He he cares more about the table that he lost, things like that, where you just read throughout the whole book a bunch of deaths and all this serious stuff, and he didn't really complain much about that. But yeah, it's that kind of humor in Jack itself, but in the Irons verse, it's Cactus Coyote is a gag manga. It's silly by nature. It's contrasted against the same very, very dark universe Jack's in, but it's more of a wacky Looney Tunes feel to it than Jack's very serious Western, spaghetti Western comedy.
Now, is Cactus Coyote an immortal? Or is that something you can share?
Well, you're gonna have to read, won't you?
Oh,
it's certainly not built into the pitch, so you're gonna have to find out. But he is a very interesting alien creature, and I think folks will like getting to know him.
Nice, dude. And that's for $1 on Patreon a month, right?
Yeah, and you get our preview issue, which is 16 pages. I did the letters, so it's not pro-lettered, I'll tell you that much. But it's readable and enjoyable, I think. So if folks want to, you can go check that out. I'm always curious on opinions. I know my artist on it. He wants to add pages and such. He's a great guy. So I'm still waiting for there to be an official number 1. This is kind of a number 0 preview issue. Proof concept, but it's still very much worth looking. And with that $1, I think you also get access to all the storyboards for issue 1 and issue 2, so you can see where things are going and how things kind of changed when we actually did the actual preview issue. Interested. There's some extra depth to the to Ironverse comics besides just what Jack's doing at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot more. It's such a big universe, and it seems like there's going to be a lot of stories coming out of it.
I sure hope so.
That's the goal, you know. And you're the second. Well, we won't call it a shared universe because yours is. Well, do you like to call it that, or what do you prefer to call it?
That'll work.
Yeah.
I do have at least one other, team, basically it's a one-man team, two-man counting me, in there. So I guess you could call it a shared universe. Okay. That works fine. I just call it Ironverse Comics.
Ironverse Comics. And it's kind of exciting. That's like I said, that's the second one that we have under Wikid now, and so we're kind of you guys are building these huge epic projects, you know.
Yeah, I mean, many of us could be biting off more than we could chew. Certainly myself, but we'll see. My goal was to be flexible. So if people want more, we can give more. People want less, we can do that too.
I think a lot of indie creators, when they're starting, they do bite off more than they can chew because they just want to get the money raised so they could, get everyone paid and, accordingly. And then, you just get the book out there and then hopefully the book will from there on fund itself.
Yeah, that's the hope. We got some steps with Jack still, but we got my artists paid. So that's what matters. So there's going to be an issue 2 to this issue 1. So that's, yeah, exactly. Just stoked about that.
I think it's just like, honestly, I think a lot of us kind of, my particular thing, not to get personal, but it's kind of, when you get a little overzealous just because you're determined to get your artist the money so he can, do his work and he can, live in comfort because he's drawing, right, all this whole time. And that takes like fucking forever. But so if he's going to be wasting all that time, he should get paid. It's like you're just literally busting your ass just to make sure he does. It's like, and it becomes a bit of a hassle,
Oh yeah, it gets hard. I did my grind what at this point about 4 months ago, and it was crazy. And of course, my artist is Argentinian, and there's a slight. His English, let's just say, kicks the crap out of any of my Argentinian. I can't blame him, but there's sometimes language barriers when describing stuff in the script and such. But sometimes that helps because his imagination isn't bound to my script anymore, so that helps too.
Well,
but
Troy was able to take what I had on Charger, and he was able to convey it not just in the way that I saw it on page, but he was able to give it like more scope of like I've spoken about this before because the guy's brilliant. What he did is there's a scene in the preview where Charger is going through gets punched in the face and goes right through the building, and then he flies all the way across the city and then crash lands in the boardwalk, which is several clicks away from where he was. And when I wrote that scene, I wrote it as literally he just gets knocked through the building, but then crashes into the harborfront dock below, so that's like within the same relative distance instead. But he was able to make it bigger. Like he made it much bigger and made it so he skyrocketed across the city. It's like, oh my God. And yet I still got the same kind of emotion and payoff that I wanted in the book. So that was a very, it was a really great thing. It's like, and he, of course, if you've seen his work on One-Pool, he really knows how to, convey a balance of, the humor, the action, and the Charger action, and, a little bit of heart too. So I was very, very lucky to keep him on the project.
Yeah,
he's
a great guy. Yeah. And his work speaks for itself, I think.
Oh yeah. Like the guy, like I said, I think hopefully, he stays on for issue 1, but then after, I can keep him on for at the very least, the full first arc, because the origin story runs for about the first 7 issues or something like that. And that just kind of sets up his world. And then from there on out, I build the Rogues Gallery until we get to the next major story arc. But it's like, again, when you've been sitting with a character for 13 years, creating his world and his story, you know literally every in and out of the world to the point where, you just know what story is going to lead into the next. And even then, I'm still coming up with ideas to kind of, that can fit in this little piece, or no, that can change here. And so that always is kind of because you're still working on it, even when you're not And actually, to answer Brett's question from much earlier, how much Invincible was an influence on Charger, he influenced the costume, like obviously, because there's a lot of Invincible in the costume. Because I was reading the book, and I said this on previous podcasts. I've said that when I was 13 or 14, sorry, I was in the school library, and they had a bookshelf that was just comic books, and I picked it up, and they had a whole, I think the first like 6 volumes of Invincible, and it was not DC, it wasn't Marvel, and I went, and that kind of lit a fire in me, kind of saying, it's like, well, you don't need to be in DC or Marvel to be a superhero. And so I started writing from there, and the character formed, and then his world formed. So he began as essentially a power fantasy, and then kind of evolved into his own character by the time I made it to college. Because in college, I took a course that specialized in comic book creation. The professor was Willow Dawson. She's done a lot of independent stuff. She's also a basic illustrator of children's books. And she brought up this final project, and she said, do something. And I thought of the character and pulled him out of mothballs, and then refined the concept into essentially what you guys see in front of you today.
Wow.
And of course, with a little bit of help from several people. I went through several artists over the years because art is not cheap. Oh God, it's not cheap. But worse, right. I need someone who's actually passionate about the project to be on it. And then I ran into Catherine, who did the concept art, but I didn't think she would be, have enough zest to actually, until I discovered otherwise, like much later on, that she would actually be willing to stay on the project. I didn't think that at first, so I went to Troy, and I actually went through a couple of things first, but then ultimately I settled on Troy because I commissioned Troy for the cover art, because I thought, well, his art's stupidly high quality, like comic book quality. I don't think he's going to do the main issue, so I'll pay him for the cover. And so he did the cover, and then and then I went, well, I got no other alternatives, so I went back to him and to do the preview, and then he just kind of snowballed and became this. And hopefully the campaign hits $5,000. I mean, I don't know if you can put a link in the chat if anyone hasn't contributed yet, but I'm sorry, I'm also talking probably really fast.
Oh no, it's okay, you're fine. Yeah.
Perfect for a speedster book. Man.
Right.
Many times.
I say howdy.
As I've explained many times, Charger is much, much more than a speedster.
That's true.
Oh, no, that's great. Jack's much more than a cowboy, but he's still a cowboy.
Well, no, Charger's actually more. I would akin his powers to the electric Superman rather than the Flash. Although he does have super speed as one of his powers. His other powers include flight, super strength, but only when he's in contact with metallic objects. So if it's made of metal, he's got potentially infinite strength. But when it's not made of metal, it's literally just he's got the strength of an average teenager.
Okay. So, I didn't know much about Charger, so I'm
sorry. I'll go through it. And then he can shoot lightning bolts from his bare hands, like kind of like he's Darth Sidious. Power!
One of the most iconic scenes.
Yeah. He can do that, but he can also do. He can also just charge up his fist to do thunder punches or thunder kicks, and he also can just touch you and you won't even see electricity surge through his body, but he'll just touch you and he can stun you like a stun gun. He'll just hit you like a taser and you just go down by just touching you.
Dude, that's awesome.
He does that a couple of times. In issue 2, issue 3, sorry, when he gets his powers, when he has his powers, he actually he judo flips one of the bullies, but as he's judo flipping him, he's literally tasing him. By touching his arm, he's just zapping him, and then he just throws it. And then when he gets a he just got tased, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, he's semi-invulnerable. I mean, pretty sure when you go through as many buildings as he does in that preview, you can take a hit.
Matt, were you asking about his abilities?
Yeah, it kind of seems more of like he has control over electromagnetism, being able to direct energy, or I should say,
it's not like static shock. That's more electromagnetism is more like static shock, because static can actually shoot a lightning current and then move an object, right?
Well,
Charger can't do that.
Electromagnetism is more of like you control the conductancy and the polarity of where electricity will go, pretty much.
Correct.
So,
yeah, but his is very limited. So if you actually picture Superman's power set, it functions very similar to his power. So speed, strength, but only when it's metal, flight, lightning bolts, which would double in his heat vision, the tasers as well, with the same kind of basic concept. He can also He can also has super hearing, but only in contact with radio waves and then later satellite frequencies. So if you're speaking, if we're in this live stream right now, right? If he can literally, if he was say 10 miles away, he could hear us talking because he can hear the feed as it's transferring from my microphone into the internet. You know what I mean? But if he was in a coffee shop and someone was talking about him, whispering, and they weren't on their phone, he wouldn't hear it. You know, nothing, just nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the last ability would be which would be the X-ray vision one, is electrovision. He can see through solid objects, but he could only really see the electric currents as they flow through things, including people. He can also produce EMPs, although EMPs drain him. So think of like Superman's super flare. It's the newest ability that he got, like in the New 52.
Yeah.
So he can produce EMPs and neutrino pulses and things like that. But how much science went into this? I try to play. I want to be a little more grounded in reality, but not to the point where it detracts from the story or the character or the character. So I kind of, it's not like Elektra. It's not like Elektra, who is very based in science or things like that. It's a little, but there is a bit of reality to it. For example, an insulator will slow him down, like rubber, for example, but electricity will eventually burn through rubber. So even in reality, so you'll go right.
Yeah,
it'll slow him down, but it won't stop him. And then his other one would be like grounded water. I mean, if he shot, that would be essentially his kryptonite, because if you're using, he can swim, he can bathe like a normal human, but if he so much as uses his abilities while he's in grounded water, he not only can shock everything around him by short circuiting it, he can also shock. The electricity will feed back and shock himself until eventually he dies.
So that's probably just because of the materials he himself is made out of.
Pardon me?
That's probably because of the materials he himself is made out of. Because we're very conductant to electricity.
Exactly. So it's like, well, normally he's invulnerable to it. When it short circuits, it causes a feedback and it zaps himself.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I mean, but similar to kryptonite, it's not like an instant like kill, so to speak. It's more like he'll eventually.
More like on how electronics work in reality. You spill water on it, it's gonna mess it up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's fine.
Don't get charged for wet, dude. He does not like to get wet, yeah.
Well, he can. Example, if he's in the rain, if it's raining, because water there, rainwater is not grounded, so he can fly through rain like it was nothing, like nothing would affect him.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because it's not grounded as such, he's not affected by it. So he'll just.
That's why you kind of compared him to the Electric Superman in that way.
Yeah, it's like I wanted to have a somewhat basis in reality, but not to the point where it detracts from the story. Like, because when his power set, I also wanted him to be fundamentally different from every other electric user we've ever seen in fiction. Static, Black Lightning. Static, Black Lightning, Electro, Cole McGrath from Infamous, and things like that. I wanted something much more traditional superhero, more like a Paragon. It just happens to have a theme around it.
Yeah,
that's very good.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's just, which actually is funny because his powers are also kind of a metaphor for how he is in his own reality, because Charger is ultimately a moral of I would think it's a good moral. I wrote the original script back in like 12 years ago. So, and then I just kept refining it from there, but the basic plot has not changed. And the whole moral of it was that he is a punk rocker kid who grew up who has a punk rock band. He's not the most popular kid in school. He actually fights bullies on a regular basis. He beats the crap out of them, or they beat the crap out of him, depending on how you look at it. And he has the cliche bullies. He's not popular. It's like, and it sucks because when he was a child, did come from a life of luxury, because his father was a world champion racer and his mother was an up and coming A-lister, until, of course, his father died. And then she went on a bender and became essentially Lindsay Lohan. And what would happen if you grew up as the son of Lindsay Lohan? Nothing good.
No, I can't imagine.
So, he eventually, he became the picked on one. I mean, like, how many your mom jokes are you going to have to deal with? Because when your mom's basically Lindsay Lohan, how many jokes are going to be made at your expense?
Poor kid.
Yeah. So he grew up in a punk band. He was rocking out. His mother do not get along at all, because she screwed up her life, and she in her mind is strict with him. She's a strict and tough as nails parent because she does not want her son to turn out like her. So she finds her redemption is to raise him at least right, like his father wanted. However, her definition of that is not one that registers to Matt. Matt sees that's Charger's real name. Matt doesn't see it that way. He sees it basically as just, you dragged me along like a spare piece of luggage, and you think you can now just suddenly tell me to do my chores and take out the trash? And then mock me and my friends for, the fact that we're doing a punk band and you were like a chart topper once upon a time. Get out of here, So he doesn't have any respect for his mother, and like at all, like I wanted the anti Peter and Aunt May, whereas Peter loves Aunt May, or if Peter loves Aunt May and wants what's best for her, and he doesn't tell her that he's Spider-Man because he doesn't want her to freak out. Matt doesn't care. He doesn't trust her. He only sticks with her. He actually doesn't even know why he sticks with her. He just does because he doesn't have really anywhere else to go. So, or at least he feels that way, I should say.
That's why he like kind of takes his outlet on music. And I wanted to ask you something I've been honestly dying to ask you is, since it is such a musically inclined thing, have you ever thought about maybe trying to get someone to do like a music piece?
Many. In fact, I actually played in bands myself when I was in college.
Really?
I have a lot of music friends. I actually am going to try to. I haven't done it yet, but I have an ex-bandmate who has a band of his own who just does really great shit. I actually promoted it, I think, once on my Twitter pitch. I want to see if I can ask to use one of their songs to promote the book. Probably should have thought of that through when I thought about the t-shirt.
Right.
Oh yeah, like one thing Charger and I definitely share in common is we both have self-deprecating senses of humor. I mean, if you read the panel in the last page, he's literally making fun of himself for being an idiot, for getting his ass kicked. Like, he goes, superhero gets tricked into working for a homicidal maniac who also turns out to be a cyborg. Well, at least I'm not dead, I think. Like,
he's got a very kind of sardonic sense of humor, very sarcastic, or it seems almost.
Yeah, he's very example, like when in one of the scripts in issue 3, he runs into a security guard or like a rent-a-cop at the junkyard because he's investigating something, and then it's like he goes, I forgot what the cop says, but it's like, and then his internal monologue is, and you've had one too many donuts.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, because the guy is like obese as fuck, and it's like, it's like he literally looks like Paul Blart.
Paul Blart Mall Cop.
He's just looking at him like, oh god.
Well, that's interesting because the music, that's always something that's drawn me to your project, the music, because and doing that promotion I think would be really good, because I remember Jack Irons had a music piece by Laguna Minuta. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Cody? Correct me if I'm wrong on the pronunciation.
Laguna Munta.
Munta, sorry.
No worries.
We actually have a theme song from him too.
You're talking about the music side, but a part of actually the major arc that I've set up so far is that the band that he's in, the Black Static, which has his two best friends, Rachel Reed, who is eventually will become the love interest, but she's also she's Matt's best friend, but Charger's biggest critic. That's why Matt doesn't tell them that he's actually Charger, because teenagers can be rather cutthroat people. That's just their nature. If they see something they disagree with, they'll just cut it off. It's much easier that way. And so he doesn't tell them because Rachel makes it very clear that she hates the very idea of Charger, and that's where the whole idea of polarity comes in. As Matt McCutcheon, the people he associates with are the outcasts, the geeks, the punk rockers, the socially downtrodden of the world. And the popular people don't like him. The thing is, but when he's Charger, the opposite is true, because later on in the story, he gets basically turned in overnight into this like Justin Bieber archetype, at least by the media. And because he's getting invited, he's doing these commercials, he's doing this, he's doing that. And on top of that, he's flying around being a superhero. So it's like, people think he's like this hot shit. So he's like this great merchandising bonanza. And the reality, and then of course, when you're a punk rocker, when you're downtrodden, you don't feel like you're part of the popular crowd. You don't feel like you're part of the in crowd. So you're just going to shit on it. Yeah. So I wanted her to be kind of a cross between, Mary Jane Watson and J. Jonah Jameson.
Interesting. Yeah.
So and she eventually gets her own YouTube channel and she starts like thrashing him kind of in very, very brutal takedowns of his antics and basically does what Jonah does with Spider-Man. So, and even when he saves her on multiple occasions and tells her what the hell her deal is, like when you think that he's getting through to her, no, she writes another hit piece. It's like, are you kidding me?
Now, will these? How far into the story is this? Is this early on or later in?
No, that like her first indication that she doesn't like Charger doesn't happen until about, I would say, issue 5 or 6. Pretty sure it's issues 5 or 6 because he doesn't. This is actually a very key thing, as I realized I was borrowing from Brian Michael Bendis' Ultimate Spider-Man run, and in that run, Spider-Man doesn't wear the suit until the 7th issue, at least full tilt. So, and then it dawned on me, I basically copied that when I did the script, and then there was a lot of moving parts. I couldn't just change it on a whim. So I said, all right, well, I transplanted a chunk. The preview that you see is actually a chunk that you're going to see again in issue 7, but with different dialogue. Or different narration boxes, because it's actually a section of the climax that I took and put in the beginning to kind of give people, okay, here's the suit. Here's what he is when he's full bloom, because for a couple of issues after that, you're not going to see the suit. So I wanted to kind of give them what they came to see, and that's this doofus in a suit.
Hey, he's not a doofus. Don't call him that.
Oh, no, he called himself a doofus, so, like,
I guess that's part of his self-deprecating nature.
He's very self-deprecating because, I mean, well, when you're the son of Lindsay Lohan, you kind of have to be. Like, he's got no shame. He literally had, he had to. He has no choice,
Speaking of, Superman or superheroes, first, Charger was our first superhero comic, but Sporkman's, joins us as the second superhero comic. How do you think Sporkman would get along with Charger? Yeah,
do either of you see them come together at some point?
Not in the main universe. I'll just say that. Probably not in any way. Maybe if we ever did like a multiverse type thing, possibly.
Right. A Wikid multiverse.
I actually spoke on Sporkman's stream once. I think it was your stream, Sporkman. We actually spoke about Charger's concept of the multiverse when we dug into that, which was way down the line, like stupid, like I would say like issue 50, 60, 70. It's like we're going there because it's a concept that I was fascinated by, but I didn't want to focus just on that. I wanted to have an established, regular, healthy superhero world before I started delving into extreme concepts like the multiverse and time travel and things like that.
That is interesting. Multiverse is they've been done a lot. I mean, what do you guys think in general? What do you guys all think about multiverses and how they're used kind of today in comics?
I think they're over. In all honesty, if they work are natural, yes, I have no problems with them. But I think they can be shticks too much currently. I kind of want DC and Marvel guys to go kind of back. Well, I kind of like that Marvel's kind of merge their multiverse into kind of the current universe.
How so?
Well, they basically, after Battle World, they pretty much all the alternate universes are kind of really not there, or in effect.
They're not really important. It seems like.
Yeah, they're not as important. Correct. The only characters that are still kind of involved in the multiverse is Reed Richards, the Fantastic Four. Other than that, almost everybody else is not really involved in the multiverse. So not to say they're not going to come back and do that again, but that's just me. I think
Didn't DC just do a multiverse thing with the Flash too, or is that like a in-universe thing for what just happened?
Are you talking about DC?
Dark Knight's
Metal, like with the Strength Force.
Oh, you're talking about Marvel.
Wisdom Force or whatever they had for it.
The Speed Force?
Yeah, like the Speed Force. It was. I don't remember on how long it was because I was reading it and I was like, I don't know. This kind of seems more of like Green Lantern kind of stuff, just for the Speed Force, and it kind of threw me. It kind of made me like not really want it because like they had just gotten done with doing that, and then they just got done with doing Dark Knight Metal, and now they're already jumping onto another like
Heroes
huge
and Crime.
multiverse or like some kind of thing to do with the Speed Force and how there's like 5, 6 different ones, and it's like, okay.
Oh yeah, I remember reading that.
Yeah, see, and that's where I come back to. I think they're using it too much. Like, I don't have, like, if it works as a story, that's fine. You know, I have no problems with it. You know, but when you're sitting there and you're relying it to create your whole thing, you know, or like your whole current genre, you know.
Yeah, as a means of expanding everything, it's kind of like that's a little much.
It is a little much. You know, it's kind of part, and this is where part of the problem is with these big companies. You know, they're all losing focus on the titles. You know, sports. Write me a good Superman story for 50 issues. I don't care about a multiverse or anything else. I just want what's going on in Superman. You know what I mean? I you know, if you're going to do a multiverse thing, okay, use the Justice League title for that or something like that. It doesn't have to affect every single title or make it like a one-off. You know, that's one thing I do like Earth 1. You know, there is no multiverse or anything like that. You know, it's just everything that involves the Earth 1 universe. And that's what I like.
Yeah. I like the idea of the multiverse. I really do, except that I do feel that, you know, it can be a shtick or a gimmick, and not to mention it's such a big concept. It's like, you know, you barely have got your character off the ground, and now you're seeing multiple versions. I've never liked doing that because it devalues the main character. So if I said if I was gonna do it, then it had to be in a way that didn't devalue the character. So when I wrote it, the idea was that I think I mentioned this on Sportman's stream again, but the first time we get the hints of a multiverse is actually when there is a female Charger who starts, an older one, like somewhere in her 30s, who starts flying around, and he's confused as fuck. And it turns out her name is Mathia McCutcheon, and she's from another Earth. Or is she? We don't know. And here's why. Because apparently when she was a teenager, like Matt was, she was visited by an older male Charger named Matt McCutcheon, who then trained her or mentored her somewhat in how to be a better hero. And that basically, it's like, well, why are you doing this? Because you told me to do, because you taught me how to do it. So we don't know. But here's the kicker. It could be time travel. It could be multiverse jumping. And here's why. Because when she left her universe and came to Charger's universe, it was still example, if she left in 2019, she came to this universe and it was still 2019, which means that her adventures as Charger must have happened in the early 2000s, and that his adventures would have happened somewhere in the 80s, and so on and so forth. But yet, largely a chunk of the events are largely happening in the same fashion, which is kind of like a take on comic books and how they keep rebooting every 5 years, how the same events keep happening, but everything just gets updated to fit modern technology.
Yeah,
That
is pretty funny. That's basically what happened. The DC's done that. I mean, yeah, they're really.
Marvel does it too. Well, Marvel's guilty of the sliding timescale. Marvel's guilty of it too.
Like I said, if it serves a purpose, I have no problem with a multiverse or you know, multiple versions of Sporkman. I mean, we've even talked about having like Sporkman 4.0, and it takes place 70 years in the future, and like then we have like this whole what if thing, you know, like time travel, and you know, it's there, but it's not going to be our main focus.
Yeah, like Alex, I like multiverses. I like seeing alternate versions, but I don't want to do. That's why I hated Dan Slott's and basically every incarnation since then of the concept of the Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
I hate every single one of them. Dan Slott's is the original, which is the worst, but I hate just about every single one of them. And the reason is because they all devalue and get away from they try to play up the idea anyone could be Spider-Man. It's like, no, Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Get over it. It's done. You're done. Stop. You know? I mean, yes, there's Miles Morales, there's Takuya, or sorry, Tatsuya, something else from fucking Japan, and a couple of things here and there. But you're getting away from why people love Spider-Man and rather Peter Parker. It's because the beauty of Spider-Man was not the mask or the powers. That was just a part of the story. The other part of the story was who he was under the mask. And we cared about the characters, and that's what made Marvel so appealing, is that we cared about the characters underneath the mask.
Yeah.
I think
that was what made it different from DC.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that is a good point. You know, having a persona under the mask, I think, is important. You know, it kind of adds more to the character. And, you know, with Spork, you know, something that struck me with the Sporkman in particular was I always thought Sporkman was kind of like a mythic, not a mythical, but like a you know, actual superpowered individual. But it's Sporkman an actual person with a mask on?
No, he is himself. Sporkman is basically, he started out as a chef, and he basically has no powers at all whatsoever. He's basically equivalent to Batman, no powers, no gadgets, and stuff like that, except for the sporks. His power really comes more from his hope and his optimism and stuff like that. So, but yeah, no, he is a full guy in a costume and everything. He's a chef.
I love his chef apron.
Yeah. So, and he basically he is the heart and soul, basically, of our universe. You know, think Superman. He's everything Superman would be without the powers.
Okay.
But
he has a family and a day job, and
yeah, we were talking about the you know, people behind the mask. Well, Chargers, like I said, I almost hinted at that, but never quite got it out. A large part of the first arc for the band, so to speak, is them trying to get signed by a record label called Wild Child Records, which is like my equivalent. It's like, it was a play on this label. I don't know if they're still in business today. I'm pretty sure they still are, called Fat Wreck Chords, which was one of the major punk rock labels that you could get into back in like the late 90s and the 2000s. You probably still today. I haven't kept up, so I could not quote you on that. But so I decided to do a parody of that, and Troy asked me if, you know, because he designed the logo, and he said, "Can I use this?" And I went, "Yeah." It's like, you know, because he has characters that would fit that role, and I was like, "Do it!" Like, you know, I want to see where this thing goes. I want to like see things expand beyond that, because, like, you know, if you want to make a living, breathing world, then make a living, breathing world. You know?
Yeah.
So, and I just think that, you know, it's a rather hackneyed idea that you have to kind of stick with one particular thing if you just want to tell a story and, you know, use these ideas. I mean, we all kind of live in the same world. Might as well just make use of it, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm stoked in particular. Wampold see the kind of Easter eggs. Troy likes putting those Easter eggs in, and I'm absolutely stoked for it.
I heard
he are coming.
Yeah, he mentioned to me that he's gonna have Charger Easter eggs in there, and I went, "Oh, I'd love to see that."
Oh yeah,
Charger Easter
yeah.
eggs.
So
yeah,
that's always something to look forward to with Mr. Marvel's comics, folks. Also, there's a lot of loose talk behind the scenes about a collected kind of offshoot multiverse kind of thing.
The Revengers.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll see how that goes. But nonetheless, I'm stoked that people are doing that. For instance, in Jack Irons issue 2, there's Easter egg, and there's a Spork Easter egg for sure.
Sorry,
I'm hoping people see that.
There's also a like I said, I think he also has a collaboration with Rags going on, which, you know, go buy that book if you haven't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And actually, in in Sporkman on the High Seas, there is going to be an Easter egg of Jack Irons.
Yep. I think we're doing it the same way too.
I thought of a plot the other day when I was going through my story again, because I review this every so often to see what I can add or delete. And I thought there's a character shortly, like later down the road, when we actually get to a point who's got the ability of mass mind control, and he's the and his father is some controlling, like, you know, Dan Schneider Weinstein-like kind of scumbag, right? Like he just wants to exploit his child for, fame and fortune kind of vicariously, but he's very, very creepy, right? Like kind of unnervingly so. And then his son is a Justin Bieber archetype, full tilt, who also has the power of mass mind control. And I thought, well, if people as a whole would be taken in by it, the only person who's immune to it is Charger because he's got too much energy running through his brain to actually friggin' be affected. I thought it was a brilliant idea. What if I wonder if I can ask Troy to see if I can borrow Ratbam and Wanpool for an issue. They just kind of show up and it's like, and then like the guys, when Wanpool shows up, everyone stops and they go, "What the fuck is that?" That was my first reaction when I saw Wanpool, and it's the greatest thing ever. But my first reaction was like, "What?" And when I showed up all my friends, and a couple of them actually bought Wanpool, they thought it was great. When they saw it too, they wanted to do. Actually, one of them wanted to do Rags, but when she saw Wanpool, she was like, "What?" And it was this collective "what the hell" kind of reaction that it stuck with me, and it's brilliant. And I thought, I really gotta ask him if I can borrow this. I mean, I don't know if he's watching or if he watches this later, but like I really gotta ask him about that because it was an idea that I had in my head, and I was like, I wonder if I could do that. Like, I mean, I'd have to have him plot the script, and so he could have his characters speak as they're meant to speak. But it was just a germ of an idea that happened in my head that just so happened to line up beautifully with a plot that I had in mind. And it was just, so we're talking about like a loose universe. I was like, I wonder, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we're wrapping up here on our second segment for the day. And so I just want to let everyone go around and kind of tell a little bit about just final words for their fans out there and anything they'd like to get out there. And why don't we start with you, Heavy Tank? Do you have anything that you'd like to tell your fans?
Not at this point in time, no.
Nothing to tease, nothing even just to tease a little bit that you can give us the tease. Come on, tease us.
At the very least, you folks should go check out his work on Tapas.
Yeah.
I mean, it's free. There's no harm, and you'll get an idea of what's going down for the published work.
And
changed a bit since then.
Where can people follow?
There we go.
In addition to
hey, it's a first edition.
In addition to your new updates, also let us know where can we follow you online.
You can follow me on Twitter at HeavyTankZA, and I also have a YouTube channel on which I do mini comic book reviews and overviews, and I also occasionally do Indiegogo project overviews.
Nice. Yeah, awesome.
I'm linking that into the chat now.
Yeah, if you're in the chat,
if I can find the window. It's in Hangouts chat. Somebody else can link it to the.
Yeah, I'll link it to the public chat.
Incidentally, my very first review I did, the channel was originally used for random political shitposting things, but that didn't work out, so I just retooled it to do comic book reviews. And incidentally, the very first one I did on there was Jack Irons.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's OG on the Jack train.
Oh, that's cool.
I reviewed Jack Irons before, it was cool.
This guy.
Very much so.
Dang, that's OG status right there. Dude, that's awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us. I appreciate it. And Cody, where can people follow you and anything you'd like to say?
If you folks don't already, Twitter at @cowboy_steel. That's where I post all the updates for Jack Irons and most of the Ironverse comic stuff. There's also at Ironverse Alert. That's going to be just comics, no personal opinions or anything else there. If you folks get sick of me but still want to know about the comics, Ironverse Alert is a bigger platform, and that's one you can go to for just that. Patreon, you can look up Ironverse Comics and Patreon. You'll find it in Google, or it would be Patreon Jack Irons the Steel Cowboy up in your address bar. Besides that, I think that's about it. You folks can just look into that. If you guys need any more info, just get a hold of me, and I'm always willing to share it.
Excellent. And let's see, Wes, what would you like to tell your fans out there, and where can you find you online?
Well, they can find me at on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at live from your interwebs at Charger Collins, and I can also be you can also find my Indiegogo page by just looking up indiegogo.com/Charger Issue 1. I mean, you guys are going to be probably posting the link in about 2 seconds, but the thing is, apart from that, that's kind of where I mostly hang out. I don't really use the YouTubes like it's kind of not my forte. But I'm just focusing on here, and hopefully you guys can follow Mr. Marvel and go to his and buy his comic One Pool, which is on Comic Central right now, and because what he's doing is basically, what he does is his thing, but without him, there is no Charger. So buy his crap.
Excellent. And Sporkman, what about you? What can you tell your fans, and where can we find you?
Sure. You can find us on Twitter at Sporkman Studios, and also my partner is at Jedi Raylan. And we also have a YouTube channel that is the same thing at Sporkman. It's Sporkman Studios, and a Patreon that is Sporkman Studios. So for that's where we can sing. And we also do have our issues, comics right now. They're currently on Comic Central at Sporkman Studios, of course. And we have 4 issues that you can get digitally, and then we also currently right now in print on demand at Indie Planet, but that's going to be changing here as we move over to you guys.
Nice, dude. That's excellent. And thank you guys for joining us. I know it's kind of a different format, so we're still working out the kinks, but I think it went pretty well. What did you guys think? Overall,
absolutely. Absolutely. I think I'm gonna head on out of here, make room for more people. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
For having me.
I'm out. So I'll see you guys around.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Take care.
Have a good one, guys.
We're gonna invite on the next set of guests. So thank you guys, and everyone in the audience, stick around. We're gonna be just in just a few minutes. We'll be uploading our new set of people onto the podcast. So just bear with us for a second. And in the meantime, we have actually one of our newest creators with us, Jeremy Lott. Hey, how's it going, Jeremy?
Hey, doing well.
Good.
We
good to
even
hear.
have Scott with us as well.
Ah, excellent. Hello, Scott.
Hey, glad to be here.
And then shortly we should be getting eBay. Oh shoot! Oh no! What have I done?
What'd you do?
I didn't give eBay Canales the link to the chat. Let me go do that.
Okay.
In the meantime, why don't you guys tell us give us some updates on some of your projects?
Okay. I'm continuing to work on the first issue of Movie Men. I submitted it to the Wikid crew, substantially done. There are 4 pages left to be written and drawn. Those will be written by the end of the weekend, and probably 2 weeks out will be drawn by a fantastic artist, Doug Curtis. At some point, I believe we're going to get what is going to be the cover up as a print. We got to work out all the dots per inch, or I don't know. These are technical things that my not terribly technical brain has a hard time understanding. Let's see what else. This is not connected to Wikid, but this week there was an Indiegogo called Knight Errant, and they had one of the levels of support was I'll draw your comic, and I went and looked and said, well, what is this? And it's if you pay X amount of money, it wasn't a lot. I will, and send me a script. I'll do a 4-page backup story with your character in my comic. And so I said, I wonder if I have a character, I could create a character and a story that would work in 4 pages. And so I created a character called Huckleberry Black, and was able to write a 4-page story for this, and I'm just waiting for the art back now. But I'll this next week, assuming I can get a good picture of him, I'll be unveiling, that Huckleberry Black will be part of this Knight Errant comic, and who knows, maybe he'll show up in some form after that.
Wow. Well, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was very it was I like needed a challenge this week, and the whole create a character, introduce him in 4 pages, and tell a coherent story. That was the challenge.
Wow, that is kind of a difficult challenge, I have to say.
Yeah.
You wouldn't necessarily think about it like that it would be, but I think.
Oh, it really is, because you can do like a 4-page story of an already established character, but if you have to establish the character and tell the story in 4 pages, it takes some doing, and I learned a lot about storytelling this week, so I'm glad I did it.
That's awesome. And Scott, how are things coming along with your project?
We're getting some progress going. Matt's been working on some concept art, and I believe we're gonna have a logo shortly after that. Got a little hang up on the artist, so that's kind of put a pause on forward progress for me. Hopefully that'll be back and rolling again, so we can start getting some page work done. So I've got something to show for it.
Nice, that's excellent. And for those of you that don't know, your comic is called Wrath.
Yes, Wrath. I didn't really get too much to explain last week. It was kind of a whirlwind day. Little overstimulated. So it's a story about a young man who's gonna basically learn that he can physically manifest his anger, and he's joined by his best friend who he confides in. They learn that as he basically learns to control his power, that there's someone else out there using similar power for nefarious purposes. So it's going to be a 6-chapter graphic novel is the ambitious goal there, with each chapter being released as an individual issue through Wikid, and then eventually compiled into a paper trade back.
Okay. How does this power manifest?
It basically comes out of him. He kind of goes into like a trance-like state. They kind of stumble upon it when he's confiding to his friend Nicole, like what kind of happened to him. There's some incidents that happen where it gets out on its own. That's what Matt's working on conceptually is what the creature is going to look like when it kind of does its own things. Like his subconscious essentially is coming out and seeking out some vengeance on some thugs that beat him up and take his bike.
So it's kind of like a genie gets out of the bottle, but he's the bottle.
Correct. So it's kind of like a his friend Nicole kind of looks into it because she doesn't really believe him, so she's just kind of playing along like, oh yeah, this is the thing, and she kind of relates it to astral projection in a sort of way, only it's not like a ghostly image, it's a physical thing. And then he's got some psychic links to it, so that anything that hurts the creature reflects similar injuries on himself.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I know we've talked a little bit about it, and I like the concept behind the power, because it really seems like the powers kind of play into the story itself, like the themes that you're trying to convey.
Yeah, it's a very like supernatural, like psychic type deal. Where he's controlling it in a trance-like state, but he's very much in control. But it's very much based on a deep-seated trauma from his past.
Have you ever read the Christopher Moore novel called Practical Demon Keeping?
No, I haven't. Is it very similar to that?
I mean, there are some similarities, but I would recommend looking it up. I think it was his first novel, and there is a demon that is tied to this guy. And I know that it's a slightly different concept, but it might be worth something that it would be worth reading and comparing and contrasting.
Yeah, definitely. Like, shoot that to me in like the chat there, and I'll take a look at it.
I will do so.
Appreciate that.
Sure.
And we're now joined by another creator, Mr. Ibai Canales. Welcome, Ibai.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's. Can you hear me?
Yep.
First and foremost, okay. Yeah, I'm trying this new headsets that I bought the other side of me. So yeah, I'm glad to be here once again.
You were trying out this new format, so it's kind of a little different than usual. But
yeah, no, it's it's great. Looks great because it's like more condensed and compartmentalized and all that. I like it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And now you and Jeremy Lott, you guys go back. Is that right? So to speak.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we did make one comic once.
One page.
Which, one page. We did one page.
One shot, you might say.
No, I fully intend to get back to that and write more pages at some point.
What was it about? Is it something you guys can talk about, or is it like a hush hush kind of thing?
It's not that hush hush. It's yeah. No, I had a character that here's the problem why it hasn't gotten beyond one page. I had a character that helped me design, and his name is David Shepard, and he looks like a badass mofo, as they say. And but as I started talking with Ibai, I decided that I wanted to set this in Ibai's neck of the woods in the Basque part of Spain.
Really?
And so I came up with a one page to sort of like set this scene for Ibai's backyard, but then I wasn't able to connect it to the story I wanted to tell after that. And the more I got to thinking about it, it might end up just being like the Basque mystery book or something like this. I need to sit down and do some brute force writing on this. It's possible that it'll end up being not one comic but two, but time will tell on that one.
It's interesting. I like the setting.
I gotta say that Jeremy here is the person among us who knows the most about the Basque. He knows more about my own people than myself. It's amazing the amount of research that he's done.
Oh my god, that's hilarious! You're an expert at this point.
I was constantly bugging you by saying like, "What about this? What about this? What about this?"
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I bet, because he's the better source than someone who lives there, right?
It's a fascinating culture. I was very taken with it, and that's the sort of the holdup is that the more I learn, the more I realize there's just so much that I don't know, and so I think that it'll produce something very good eventually, but it's going to be a longer road than I originally thought.
Are you doing any like research when you do the writing on this?
Yeah, I mean, I've bought a bunch of books of Basque history and Basque folklore, and I've been slowly working my way through when I get the time. And then obviously you can do a certain amount of that, but then you sort of lack local context, and so I will then ask it by well, how is this understood? That sort of thing, and I'm getting there. I'm getting a better feel for it. Honestly, I might have to just go to Spain to understand some of this. So, whatever. There may be a trip to Spain in my future. That'd be awful.
I'll buy the beers.
You can stay with Ibai and sleep on his it'll be a new roommate situation. That's quite funny. Now, Ibai, I have some exciting news for you.
Awesome.
Since you've been away from Twitter, we haven't been able to. Speaking of which, real quick, is there any chance you're coming back to Twitter anytime soon?
Yes, I think I'll be coming back at some point. I don't wanna make it official because I would be rebanned, resuspended. But yeah, I think I will be coming back to at least to promote the Abductables, which is and it's we're finishing it. But
yeah, no, it is Abductables coming along.
No, it's great. I just I finished the cover just yesterday, and Michael seemed to love it.
Wow!
And thank you. I'm still waiting for his for the green light to share it on social media because I don't want to spoil anything. I want to keep it a surprise. Let me close the door. There you go. So yeah, no, but at some point I might have to send someone, wink to Twitter, to represent me there.
That's smart because like Lemony Snicket, he's an author, but he never shows up anywhere. He has his handler, Daniel Handler, is his kind of his book agent. He's the one who shows up for him.
Exactly. I may have to send my sexy secretary to be my handler on social media.
My idea, Ibai, is that your mom should start tweeting.
Horrible. Horrible.
Oh!
No, he knows what he's talking about because he knows my mom from Facebook.
Really?
And
Well,
my mom, my mom is so radically red pilled as of now that she's become a full on shit lady, if that's a term.
Wow. That's
Ew.
yeah, dude. She ain't messing around.
Yeah, she's like, feminists said what? let me pause that and let all of you know what I think about it. Oh, and I'm sorry.
That's hilarious. And it'd be funny because you could totally go on there and be like, no, I'm not Ibai Canales. I'm Ibai's mom. I'm just Ibai Canales' mother.
Well, that would kind of give me an armor, right? Because nobody would mess with someone's mom.
Right?
That's just
Who would do
rude.
Well, hey, at least we all know where it's coming from too. So.
Absolutely.
Where you learn those great skills.
Yeah, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree on this case.
No, I think that's more of a dad thing. My dad is the angry and artistic one because he took art classes back in Belgium where he migrated when he was a kid, and he has this. I'm only biased from the part of my mom. My dad is actually a cowboy. He's from. Yeah, I'm half cowboy. I'm half barbarian. I'm Robert E. Howard's wet dream. But yeah, the angry one, the one who has this nasty, almost Irish-like temper, that's my dad. Oh boy, he will rarely get angry. When he gets angry, he shakes the pillars of heaven.
Jeez. We thought your mom was scary.
My mom's just bitchy. Those are two different things. Angry and bitchy. It's not the same. Not the same.
They have overlap, though, I think.
Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive.
Right. Oh man, that's awesome.
So
But
the abductables is that a Wicked property as well or not?
no, not at this time. It's not.
Okay.
Not yet. That's the correct answer.
It's we love anything from Ibai Canals. So we're not. There's nothing official, but that's all we can say, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I like the idea of publishing work on my first official notch graphic novel that I made for Tepastic and for Smack G. I don't have the original high-res files, so the print version would probably look like crap.
Oh.
For which one?
Sorry, what?
Sorry, for which comment?
Worgan. I remember you guys showed some interest in that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Even when it does look, if it's not the highest quality, we'd still be interested in it for sure. That'd be
At some point, I may have to, blow the files up and make them less fussy because I tried printing them and they look really terrible. You need glasses to read them.
Really, that bad? Worse than
yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Well, you know what? You'll get there eventually. Was it a case where you just lost the files?
Yeah, I don't know what happened because I changed computers like 3 times since then. I think that was back in 2013, something like that. So yeah, they probably disappeared somewhere around among my several hard drives and memory sticks and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They had to be somewhere, but I just don't know where. I'm an artist. I'm sorry.
Not a technical guy.
Yeah.
Did you ever email it?
Yeah, but only the low-res JPEG files because an Italian friend of mine was publishing them as a comic in Italy and as a webcomic in Italy.
Because it might have been saved on like your archives or something. Worth checking out.
Yeah, no, I tried, but I only have the low-res JPEG files, which is a shame because I still like that comic. I think it's
at some point. Sorry, I was just gonna say at some point we might be able to hire someone to maybe touch it up a bit.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe I should just redraw it because I grew up so much since the last time, so I should probably just it's just 72 pages. It's it's a small graphic novel. So maybe at some point I could try to redo the whole thing.
Yeah,
Kinda like a remastered
your art has grown by leaps and bounds. I mean, the really amazing thing is to look at your original story that you did with Richard, and then look at Iron Sights at the beginning and just how much you grew through that graphic novel. It really is quite something to watch.
Yeah, that's what drawing every day will do for you, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's
Oh, yeah.
true. Yeah, the webcomic, I think I love the webcomic because and just the comic in general because of the way you do the art. You use these to me they almost feel like manga-esque style shading, and it really works. You know, it gives this really minimalist kind of dark, eerie atmosphere.
Yeah, manga has always been a big influence on me because I think the Japanese are exceptional narrators. You can understand perfectly well what's going on every panel. So yeah, I sometimes try to replicate that effect that they have.
That's cool. And speaking of which, I actually am excited to let you know I'm actually holding issues number 3 to 4 print edition right now.
Nice.
That came in on Friday.
Could you display them for us?
Let's see, how can I do that? Okay, 1 second. So,
Because I think this is awesome. I'm really looking forward to these. Yeah.
here is the comic for everyone to see. This is the exclusive cover. You can't get it anywhere else but on the print edition.
Yeah.
Look at that. Canal's goodness.
Action packed comic.
And this is the back of it.
Nice.
And I'll open up a little bit so you can see inside.
And you were talking last night about the extras that are in there too, right?
That's right. There's actually some extras in the back.
Oh, we're seeing the gay sex scene. Good
Oh,
choice. Could you stop on the gay sex scene?
Let's go back then. Let's flip on back for our viewers. Sorry, trying to hold this up for people to be able to see. Oh, this is one of my favorite panels. I love this shot. I won't spoil what that is, but man, that's gonna be fun.
Very cool.
And then here's, as I said, the bonus stuff. Here's an extensive interview with Ibai.
Okay.
And a few more things that I won't spoil in the back here, but yeah, there it is.
Very cool. Thank you.
Sorry, my room's a little messy in the background.
Oh, you should see mine, man.
At least I'm not the only one. But no, we're excited. We just shipped out the pre-orders, and so pre-orders you should be expecting to get them within 1 to 3 days. So if you were on there pre-ordering it by midnight last night, you were able to get that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it looks good. We'll get one sent over to you, eBay, so you can get your copy. But you know, the cover came out perfect. It just looks so cool.
Oh, it looks great, man. I love it.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and we're actually going to be coming out with the Spanish version as well soon.
Very cool.
Yeah, I need to pin that up for my friends because I have several people ask me for both the printed version and Spanish version. So yeah, I think there's a market for that.
Yeah, I just got an email from someone in Spain who was curious about purchasing one of the copies.
Yeah, that would be Nines, my friend Nines, who's also an artist.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I don't. What's the comic book market like in Mexico? I hear there is a decent one there, but I don't know much more than that. Do we know?
Ibai?
I think that I don't really know much about Mexico. I know there are comic books. I mean, was it? No, sorry. I know there's a small niche market of satirical comics and what's the word? Wrestling, lucha parody comics too. There's quite big down there.
Yeah,
but I don't really know about. They do have.
I'm terrible with geography myself. Where the hell is Spain?
Spain is in Europe. It's right below France. It's right atop Africa and right below France, just in the middle.
Above Africa?
Yeah, it's like southwest of France.
Ah, okay. Yeah, see, yeah, I would never. I literally can never. I get states confused. So there's no way I can keep all that straight.
It's okay. Most Spaniards couldn't tell the difference between an Englishman and American. So. Cool.
So it's yeah, that's fair. But I mean, you've mentioned having the few comic shops in your area. Have you talked to them about your stuff?
I think I'm persona non grata in most of them. After I had a violent falling out with some of them on an online argument, I'm afraid. Yeah, several years ago. But I think there's right now there's maybe 2 comic books in my area that are healthy and active. And yeah, I may have to talk to them, put my diplomatic face and try to be nice to them, which I rarely am.
A different side of Canales.
Yeah.
Just win them over with your charm.
I like to think I'm a social guy. I'm not the most. I think it's the opposite. I'm not really social, but I'm sociable. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sociable, but not social.
Yeah. I'm not much of a people person, but
right. Yeah.
And I'm not much of a people person, but I can get along with them if I have to.
Well, we definitely miss you from Twitter, so we will hopefully your representative or your mother will be back on there soon, so we can hear some more updates.
I'll introduce you to my sexy secretary.
There you go. What's your name gonna be? Ibella Canales?
Did you know that Ibai is actually a gender neutral name?
Really? Oh.
Yeah, there's 6 called Ibai here.
Really?
Yeah, it just means river, so
That's pretty hilarious. I would not have expected that.
What does Canales mean?
Channels. That's the irony. I'm river channels. Hence my last Twitter handle.
Oh, it all makes sense now.
Yes.
I get it.
It's like one giant cosmic puzzle all fitting in.
Well, that's awesome. We're excited about all your projects. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that I miss my Twitter friends. There's lots of people that I only know from Twitter. I don't miss the toxicity and the bullying and the arguing, but I do miss friends. And I'd like to come back someday.
Yeah, I think they miss you too. Every time we make a post about you, people seem to be like, "Oh, they're liking it," and people, I think people are like, "Where's Canales at?" We want our Canales back.
Yeah,
I know. I bet you. I bet you.
In order to make Twitter palatable for me, this isn't just comics. Okay, this is politics too. Just because I'm trying not to get drawn into arguments, I've had to block 250 people. It's crazy.
Yeah, that is a lot. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's something to what Zach says about Twitter that makes normal people weird and weird people insane.
Yeah,
well, it's probably like what a lot of people say. It's the whole anonymity thing. They believe that just because they're behind a screen, it doesn't affect real life in a sense. But really, in a sense, you're still causing an action. So in a way, you are manipulating real life, just in a different way.
It's funny because it reminds me of a Black Mirror episode where everyone has, I believe it's a Black Mirror episode where everyone's getting ratings. You have to tap yes or no, and if people if you say one thing wrong and you get on people's nerves, they'll just turn against you like a mob, and it's like
that's really happening over in China right now.
Was that Black Mirror or was it Orville?
It was Black Mirror.
I think Orville did an episode like that too.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. Oh, interesting. That must be a popular topic right now then.
Yeah,
actually,
I
Orville
think so because China's doing it. China just recently switched over to that kind of moral system.
Parts of China,
yeah. It's really weird because they want to use it for economy, but at the same time they want to use it for just almost everything within the bounds of life there, and it's that's a little nuts.
Yeah, just imagine living in a country that would be like Twitter. all day
Oh,
long.
Yeah,
God.
no, thank you, man.
Yeah,
no,
this-
Oh my
thank
God.
you.
The scary thing about the Orville episode is they were actually using social media to like run their criminal justice system, which was scary.
That's ridiculous. That's like idiocracy using like popular vote to decide like criminal cases and all of that, and have them face off in like this gladiatorial system and everything. And it's like, whoa, dude.
Yeah, no,
I
it
can
was
kind of see that
nuts.
happening.
Well, in a way, it kind of is. You just limit it to 12 people.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, but I don't know. I kind of don't want to see humanity start having to fight cars to get out of crimes and everything to be
Yeah.
proven innocent.
If we get there, I think we're really far gone at that point.
Well, man, somebody should have done a comic book, a post-apocalyptic comic book based on all this stuff gone way out of hand.
Right? I wonder why no one had that idea.
That was
before.
idiocracy. Everything
Well,
at the time.
I'm thinking Decimators here.
Think closer to home.
Tell you what, I think that the fact that both the Orville and Black Mirror coincide on that idea means that we're looking at a new type of dystopia here. Because until now, our idea for a dystopic future was, Mad Max or I don't know, a boy and his dog, or maybe a zombie apocalypse. But this whole people going insane through social media, I think this is. It's opening gates to new hypotheses on how the future could be, something like 1984.
Because that's actually a big part of the novel I'm finishing editing right now. That's the big theme in it, is how technology can actually lead to detriment for the society as a whole. And it's interesting because it's almost that I was reading this article about how the Unabomber almost like predicted these things, or like talked a lot about these things. About how the Industrial Revolution and its consequences, essentially,
Wasn't Timothy McVeigh also like really into biblical prophecy too?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, McVeigh was practically an atheist.
Was
okay. Then that shit. Who was it then? There was another bomber who did a couple of bomb. Oh, was it the mail bomber?
He was not. He was not inspired by biblical prophecy. We were talking about the Unabomber. He was a radical environmentalist.
That might be who I'm thinking of.
But he was a radical environmentalist and sort of a tech skeptic.
I want to read this quote real quick. I just found so on point right here. I mean, it's crazy to be quoting a guy like this, but he says, once a technical innovation has been introduced, people usually become dependent on it so that they can never again do without it unless it is replaced by some still more advanced innovation. Not only do people become dependent as individuals on a new item of technology, but even more, the system as a whole becomes dependent on it. Kind of true in its own way,
Yeah.
No, yeah.
It's like when I used to play.
Look at computers. We can't go back now.
Right?
It's like when you used to play what?
It's like when I used to play WoW and everyone had like Healbot, and I would just keyboard and mouse it. And I'd be like, as soon as your mods are gone, you guys can't do your job.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever read a book called Brave New World by Aldous Huxley?
Oh yeah.
I think that's like standard high
That
school
one is
reading.
a scary dystopia to live in. I would not want to live in that one.
Okay, I need to read that because my sister told me to read that for my novel, and I should probably do that.
No, yeah, it is really good because it's a story pretty much based off of him and his brother's mathematical studies of technology and society, and where they kind of saw it starting to go. And they were talking about what started off as like embryo like insemination turned into basically creating humans in test tubes. And now we have reports of like stuff like that happening over in Russia. I mean, could be shitpost, but at the same time, there's also reports of China trying out the same thing. We've done the same thing with like back when we did human cloning testing and the stages of that. So I mean, it like a lot of what he said is really starting to come fruition. And I wouldn't say like the whole society thing, but it looks like we are starting to go that route because we're now like a lot of the world has really hooked on pharmaceuticals in one way or another, and that was another big.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine I can't imagine life without Advil.
Yeah, that's so weird. And now it turns into like just imagine like possibly in like 100 years or so, like you could be taking everyday medicine for making you happy.
Well,
and every single person has to take it.
You're assuming people will be taking this, right?
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is, you're assuming it wouldn't be part like some kind of an implant or whatever.
No. In his story, people actually still had to take it.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is, if it becomes a regular thing, like the delivery mechanism doesn't have to be oral.
No.
Yeah,
they'll probably have like more of a patch system.
Are we talking suppository here?
There's all kinds of ways to do
it. But no, you're right.
We have to take into account that when these guys wrote this novel, there wasn't such a thing as computers. There wasn't even a computer, right?
No TV, radio was still really new. I think he really wrote it. I think in the 1910s or 1900s.
They basically created a slightly futuristic 1950s world in which everyone would be catered to by the power, and
the government and
everyone would be so happy and comfortable that they would be stupid, and they will be completely demoralized. And I think it's kind of what's happening now.
Especially on just on how people act. Yeah. In a sense, that's kind of where, it's really kind of showing, because it's kind of people are acting really fake online and everything, but they kind of show their true colors at the same time, in a sense, and that's really something that he was talking about too, where it seemed like more people were just fake, and you never really saw anything real.
Yeah, according to my Outbrain, aka Wikipedia. The Brave New World was written in 1931 and published in 1932.
Okay.
And I was off too though, because I thought it was written in the 40s or 50s, right? So we'll split the difference here. But the innovation that I think that was most important in that book was that basically people are there's no birth happens anymore. People are grown in exterior artificial wombs, right? And they're now experimenting with that in animals and with some success. Once that the way that we've decided these things work ethically, legally, etc., is you experiment on animals until you get it right. And then you can think about moving it into humans. Well, you're going to have it right in animals, in 5 years, let's say. And then we see about what happens with people having artificial wombs in let's say 15 years tops.
I could see that.
Yeah.
15, 20 years.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think that the experimentation would start in 15 years, but it might become the normal way of doing things in 30.
You're also kind of getting into Gattaca territory there too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now that movie, aren't they? Am I wrong? Can't they already do designer babies at this point?
They can do designer babies, but there is nothing as to an artificial womb. What he's saying is in a sense to where trans people,
what?
Guys,
no, I don't think
sex change, they could have an artificial womb.
No,
a woman who has cervical problems could have an artificial womb.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no,
these artificial wombs.
These artificial wombs we're talking about are all exterior. They're not
exterior. What do you? Okay.
Okay. All right. This has happened. This has happened with, I believe, sheep.
I'm getting in trouble here.
This has happened with sheep. They had what would have been the mothers were killed, and these sheep, embryos were not where they could have lived, and so some scientists found a way to create artificial wombs to get them further along in the process, and then birth them. This actually happened. I think believe it was last year.
Yeah, I kind of know what you're talking about because even not the Chinese, I believe it's the Japanese, who are doing experimentation with chicken eggs of the same type. They're trying to create artificial chicken eggs.
Okay.
But in a sense, what you're saying is like instead of being inside the body, it's outside the body.
Yes,
Or,
that's what I'm saying.
in a crude way of saying, a test tube baby.
Yeah, well, I mean, the test tube babies aren't like all what you do is you're taking the natural, the sperm and the egg outside of the body, putting them together, putting them backside inside the body. That's what happens, and maybe you do some things in the process. But I mean, there
are some things around.
That's basically a Matrix scenario, right? In which people are grown. They're not. They cultivate.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, we're I would say 30 years away from that it being a normal thing where people are grown rather than birthed. Is what that I mean. That it seems to me a reasonable surmisal based on the science that we see right now.
I don't think it would be more of the norm. I think it would be more of probably a hip new thing people want to try.
Well, the thing is, I would think there'd be ethical issues that would have to be overcome.
Yeah,
that's the one thing that would be the biggest hurdle.
Yeah, there's a lot of legal red tape there that they're gonna have to get through.
Okay, but I mean, like I can walk you through this. Sorry, that sounded arrogant, but I mean, a woman, has a brain aneurysm and effectively dies, and they've got to try to keep her body alive to get the baby close to term, right? Or there are things like that happen. I mean, scenarios that are similar to that. Yes, but that happen today. These things happen. And they say, well, we've been doing this thing in sheep, in all these other animals that works, and we've perfected it basically, where you can take and raise these things in an exterior womb, and it has a better rate of the kid actually surviving, right? Well, then it's almost immoral at that point not to use an artificial womb to bring a baby to term, right?
I would say the counter argument would be, I agree with you 100%. I do think you're right that it would be the right thing to do, but but there's a lot of religious people in our in our country that are very anti-vaccination, these kind of things, and I wonder if there would be some sort of backlash of is this natural? Is this against God or something?
Well, I'm very religious and Catholic, and there is I can't think of a moral argument that would overcome the scenario I just painted.
Unfortunately, it does happen, but
there are people who do value the word of God more than human morality.
Okay, but what I'm saying is the word of God doesn't say you can't do this.
That's completely
plausible. I mean,
that's done.
I
believe it's been done before, right?
I think the whole point about like abortion is that you're killing a baby. That's the religious people's argument against it. But if you're actually using science to save a child's life, I don't think that's.
Well, yeah, I don't think people.
The only reason I brought that up is because of like people like who do anti-vaccination type things.
Yeah,
or that is supposed to be saving lives,
If you look at the polling,
there's controversy with.
If you look at the polling on anti-vaccination, though, it's not religious people that are against it as much as hippies. Basically, I mean,
most of the people who are against vaccination that I know of are leftists.
Oh, okay, well, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's a good.
I mean, I'm not saying there aren't a very very small number of religious people who are against vaccinations. But that is not where most of the opposition comes from.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
What's the religious argument against vaccination anyway? Because the only arguments that I've heard are that it causes autism and they inject you with
Hasidic Jews and the Amish who believe that the word of God triumphs everything, and that if it isn't naturally made, then it's not meant for humans. So.
Yeah, it's complicated.
If you can't man-make it, if you have to man-make it with chemicals or technology in some certain way, you shouldn't be using it.
Jehovah's Witnesses are against. I want to be very careful how I say this. They're against like blood transfusions. Now they found ways around that where if they donate their own blood, and
use it later in the process, that's apparently okay with at least some Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these the arguments are, they're not like broad arguments. I mean, sometimes they are. Sometimes they're exactly what you said. Like, we think that this needs to be natural. But honestly, the people who tend to harp most on this needs to be natural tend to be, hippies.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, those who are who say alternative medicine's the best way to go for.
Yeah, that's funny because people who think that I used to hang out with people like that back in college, and all the radical vegan types, and I'm drinking this thing that I made in a blender to purify my body from toxins and stuff, and those were all hippies and extreme leftists and stuff, and it's funny how they seem to think the same as some religious groups.
Like especially my best friend Ray, he's really into knowing nutrients and everything because he works out a lot, and he's really into keeping his body very well maintained because he does have some food allergies that kind of messes with him.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
He knows a lot of that stuff, and he doesn't really talk about it in a way that's more of like, oh yeah, I'm purifying my body from toxins and everything. He's like, no, this just helps get certain things out of your body. There are certain people who are very more scientific with it, but a lot of those people who do think of like alternative medicine or like taking care of like your body via I can't think of the medical term for it.
Are you thinking naturopathic medicine?
Not naturopathic, but it's pretty much it helps get rid of pathogens within your gut and everything. And I think biomes or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And like he knows all that stuff, and he listens to nothing but like scientists and stuff like that. But I mean, there is a lot of stuff to it, but I think a lot of what kind of throws a lot of people off is the way that a lot of these alternative medicine people come about it. Because
I just want to point out that the woman who told me that I'm detoxing my body from with this juice thing was smoking a cigarette at the time. When she was
see, that's what I'm saying. They're usually like that. Either I want to say hypocritical, but they do very weird things at the same time that put toxins in their body, and it's like, why would you do that? Those people at the same time like to kind of do acid and also kind of like doing some other drugs. So it's kind of like, what?
The stupidest thing I've heard at a gas station was this guy was asking for a pack of menthols, and his buddy at the door was like, dude, why don't you get Marlboro Reds? And he looked his friend straight in the eye and said, dude, I don't want to get cancer.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is pretty bad.
I was like so tempted to be like, dude, look at your pack of cigarettes real closely. Surgeon General's order. He's like the president of the doctors, and he says that you will get cancer from this.
They're not.
It's even worse from smoking menthols because the fiberglass inside of it actually creates the cancerous cells a lot more quicker, I guess.
Did you know they used to put asbestos in cigarette filters?
Well, the bottom line is it's bad. Like, even if we discount all the chemicals, which I don't think we should do, if you put smoke into your lungs on a regular basis, that itself is a cancer causing thing. Yeah. Like, I don't care what the smoke is. I don't care if it's what it is. If you're regularly, mainlining smoke into your lungs, it's bad for you.
I will say that it's interesting that there has been no documented cases of anyone getting cancer from smoking marijuana, though.
There have been.
No, I've done research on it. There literally has not been. Actually.
Okay.
Well, not only that, they're even looking into the medical benefits of CBD now. So this way they can replace that with the opioids.
Well,
what the problem is that a lot of the marijuana products, including CBD, is still considered a lot of the times in certain states, I believe, a first-class felony. I believe.
Well, it's not the legal issue, but a lot of they've done a lot of studies, and the big factor is you have to discount other things like smoking cigarettes and other factors. And once you discount that, there have been no documented cases.
I mean, one of the problems though with the marijuana and documentation is you weren't even able to legally
Right.
research with
No,
this
that's
stuff
very true too.
until real
Yes.
quite recently.
Yes.
Yeah,
I believe now, since a few states have legalized it completely, I think now would be a good time to do a complete real study to see it.
True.
Yeah, the problem
Because
there
I
is
do
getting
believe there
the
are psychotropic effects that it does that affects you
Yeah.
over time.
the problem there is actually still getting funding because most of the funding flows from the federal level and it's still illegal at the federal level. I honestly think you're going to see a lot more in terms of research. You're going to see a lot more actual studies of this in Canada, where just across the board it's now legal. So I think Canada will probably end up being the pioneer of a lot of the medical effects of marijuana.
Right. It'll be interesting to see whether that holds true or not. And but yeah, no, that is a fair point. There's probably not enough research at this point. But
I have a dumb question. Do any of your and this is like for the future? Do any of your comics involve drugs? Do any of Wikid's comics, are they about drugs in any form?
I think there may be drug use in barrels.
There's mention of using drugs in destinators, and I was planning on using lots of psychotropics in the final act. I couldn't, for reasons of space and time, I couldn't fit them.
Oh, that was hilarious. In fact, I will say me and Matt came up with an idea for like a joke comic. We never really did anything with it, but it was called Paraphernalians, and it would have been about a space dispensary and outer space for aliens.
I double dog dare you to do this comic.
We have seriously thought about it.
I'll just say that
our logo, our guy for the original logo, as kind of that person, and just kind of make little references here and there for Wikid and everything, just as kind of like Easter eggs. But we never really got past the planning stages, but we have seriously thought about it.
Ibai, what were you going to say about that, though?
I was going to say that there's a serious lack of drug-using aliens in pop culture. I can think of a good example since, this movie with Dolph Lundgren called, I think it was Dark Angel.
No, I don't think so.
I know about the movie, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's familiar.
Yeah, I think it's from 1980 something, maybe 1990. It's about a cop who faces actually a drug dealer from space.
A drug dealer from space? I like the idea, huh?
No, it's great. The guy makes his own drug, the drug dealer, by extracting, I don't know what it is, but it might be just pure pleasure from people's brain with a wrist blade. The guy just jacks you full of pure heroin, and then he kind of extracts the rush from your brain in the form of liquidly. And I think that's pretty freaking nice idea about an alien squeezing people's brain and turning the product into drug. That's really badass.
Almost like is it like a drug or something almost?
Yeah, I mean, I guess human ecstasy in liquid form is like the shit in space for aliens,
Well, I mean,
it's all the rage.
It's like a safer heroin.
Pure happiness, it would probably just be pure, like serotonin.
Yeah,
like,
something like that.
Jesus.
I guess they explain it in the movie with pseudoscience, but I couldn't pay attention because Dolph Lundgren blowing shit up in an alien, so I wasn't paying attention.
That's all you need, right there.
I bet that's a wild ride within itself.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, that you're right. That would be hilarious to actually go through with that and do that. Let's see. Well, we're starting to get close towards the end of the podcast here. Can you do you guys want to go around and maybe talk to tell us a little bit about what you want to tell your fans and maybe where they can follow you?
Okay. You can follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Lott Diary, and I believe at the end of February be launching the Movie Men Indiegogo, and I'll let everyone know about that. And then once we've fulfilled the Indiegogo, obviously, the comic will be available via Wikid after that.
That's awesome, man. And what is the plans for Movie Men? I mean, we haven't really talked much about Movie Men today.
Yeah, that's true. It's okay. It's a one shot, and it's just the setup is imagine you, the viewer, are a worker at a theater, and you go and you check once the movie started, and you take that little wand and you walk into the theater to make sure that the door is closed and that everything's in order, and you find a bomb, and you scream bomb, and you get trampled, and you wake up just in time for it to explode, but everything's still there until you turn around and the dinosaur is missing from the screen.
Nice.
Missing from the screen?
Yes.
Oh boy. Now, what made you go with the dinosaur? Is this an homage to Jurassic Park by any chance?
The whole thing is an homage to movies. There's basically take different kinds of monsters in the one shot, and but no, I decided that I wanted to do this comic after I saw the new uniform, or I guess it's not new anymore, but the uniforms that the workers at Regal Cinemas have now, they look a little bit like X-Men costumes to me. And I thought, what if they were superheroes? And then that thought never left me, and so then I thought, well, how would that come about? And thus Movie Men came out of it. Wow.
It's a really fun premise. I assume it comes out of your love of movies.
Oh yeah, no, I used to. I don't go to movies as much these days, but I mean, I for several years I was tracking how many movies I went to, and I would go to no fewer than 50 movies in the theater every year.
Wow, that's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
You have a favorite movie?
It's a tie between My Fair Lady and Tombstone.
Oh wow, those are some classics right there.
Oh yeah.
So you're a big fan of the classics, I did say then, huh?
Yeah, I am. I mean, it's mixed, but there was a I won't name him, but there was an actual movie critic I know who told me he'd never seen Casablanca.
Mm.
And this so incensed me that I went and I ordered a copy on Amazon, and then got it delivered, and then walked into his office and threw it down on his desk and said, "You're watching Casablanca."
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Yeah, that's another good one.
Yep.
But no, that's awesome. So yeah, go ahead, everyone. Go. You've said where to follow you, so go everyone check
so I'll just spell it out at JeremyLottDiary at Jeremy Lott Diary.
I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the chat as well, into the chat so people can see.
Okay.
And then Evi, what's going down with you these days? Is there anywhere people can follow your ventures, and what would you like to say to your fans out there?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. I'm Ibai Canales, and my second surname, because we Spaniards have like a shitload of surnames, but I'm still that guy. You can follow me on Gap, the Kingdom of the Fascist Frog, and I'm planning of going back to Twitter someday. Soon I'll be going back. And right now I'm drawing 2 comics, The Abductables, which we mentioned. I'm also drawing Tombstone Blues, this story about a private necromancer for hire who's trying to solve a murder in a bright type scenario with elves and goblins and stuff in a futuristic city. Yeah, no, it's really cool. I'm having the time of my life drawing these 2 comics. I mean,
I hear there might be a sequel to another comic coming up here too. I don't. Is that true?
You know it.
Secrets.
And I'm also, I must say, I'm also re-saluting the TIFF files from the webcomic Decimators, so we can have the volume 3, which would be issues 5 and 6, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm also planning, to include new extras for the new volumes. Probably, character sheets like in old school Marvel comics.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Thank you. I miss that from Marvel Comics when you would buy a random, I don't know, X-Men or G.I. Joe comic or whatever, and they would feature a couple of character sheets explaining who these guys are, where they were born, powers and all that. And yeah, I think that those could be like really cool extras to include in the comic.
I would love
Very
to see that. Yeah, because it'd be cool to learn more about Barbarian and some of the other characters.
Yeah,
They're,
because you really can develop as much as you would like in a webcomic because you have to keep every issue like self-contained and engaging. So you can't really go into the characters as much as you would like, just to not screw up the pace, the story.
yeah, you don't have as much time to kind of get to where you're going. You have to get there pretty fast, like you're saying.
Yeah, it's one page every week, so you can afford to bore your audience.
Yeah, I was thinking that must be a real challenge because it's not just issue by issue, but it's actually page by page that you're having to grab a reader, or.
Yeah, I can't afford to do what Marvel does. They stretch like a whole story arc into 20 issues, and then they hope for the best when they put the TPB out. I'm not that guy. I like to keep every page interesting and engaging. So
Wow.
yeah, I let a couple of things drop here and there about the characters to make them a bit more relatable. But yeah, I would really like to go deep into them. Yeah.
Nice, man. That's awesome. And we're gonna be trying to get Decimated onto a monthly release schedule, so that's gonna be nice, I think.
Very cool.
And then Scott, where can everyone follow your work, and what would you like to tell them about your project?
So you can follow me on Twitter at Kishkumen, KYSHKUMEN. Just keep an eye out on my project. I'm a little bit behind everyone else, but really digging what Matt's been working on for me, and I can't wait for his big reveal for all of you. So keep an eye on my stuff, and hopefully have some stuff to show you soon.
Nice, awesome. And Matt, did you want to talk a little about anything about your projects to everyone, and say where they can follow you?
Pretty much. The only thing really is that I am currently working on a mini series for a longer series that I want to release through Wikid, but not at this time because I'm still working on a few things and working on a few concepts. But with the mini series, it's more of a short little side things that will be shown here and there throughout the series. But I think the way that I'm setting it up will be pretty good as a means of showing it off without revealing too much. And besides that, I'm like Scott was saying, I'm working on a concept for Wrath. Sorry about that. And then I'm working on page 2 of Dissolution 2030 right now. And when that chapter is done, I'll be working on Project R Chapter 3. So probably within 6 months, be on the lookout for either one of those. And if you want to follow me for any of my art, just follow me at Twitter pretty much at handle at MattB_Zulos, SULOS.
Awesome. Thanks. And if you guys want to follow my stuff, I got a couple projects releasing soon. Jeff Lasley and I are finishing up on issue 2 of Barrels. So expect that, if not later this month, early next month. And then I am also finishing editing up on my light novel, Singularity Madness. It's a kind of speculative, near future science fiction thriller. Somewhat, I try to take ideas from or not take ideas, but it's in a similar vein of things like Black Mirror and Psychopaths and action shows like The Last Ship and other things like that. But yeah, so check out that soon. It's got really cool art by this guy, Mike Tony. He does really cool anime style art. You can follow him at Mike Tony Design, and you can follow Jeff at Jeff R. Lasley. And if you want to follow my adventures, you can follow me at Nub Guy on Twitter, and of course you can follow us at Wikid Publishing on Twitter as well. And I just want to thank everyone for being here today. This was a really interesting new experiment we were trying out with our new format. And it was a lot of fun. And I hope we're able to have you all back again for next week's episode. Or next episode. And everyone follow them on Twitter and stay wicked. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.